Mark Dykton, usually I would not recommend going to Vegas for lifestyle changes to, really significantly try to improve your ways as a human being. Nothing against Las Vegas, a tremendous place. Was, fortunate to be there a few nights, a little over a month ago. But I must say, if Tyrese Halliburton wants to play defense like he played last night, by all means,
go right ahead.
Go to Vegas. Yeah. Do whatever you need to.
So don't follow the adage of whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Bring it from
home.
Vegas.
Yeah, that's something you can live with. Which some other things that you take home from Vegas you might not want to live with. So, yes, a jump ball in the first possession of the game. How about 4 steals for Tyrese Halliburton last night? General defensive mindset. Part of me thinks I'm grasping at straws here when you look at the stat lines for Halliburton.
I was going to say,
and Andrew Nembhard, but I do genuinely mean it. I thought, in our first look at Team USA here, I thought a defensive mindset was there, and in particular from the Pacers point guard, which you never really praise him for the defensive end of the floor.
No, obviously only 2 points on the stat sheet, so yeah, you do have to kind of go on the defensive side in that case. But yeah, I mean, did you stay up for this whole game? I did not.
I watched into the third, and then I bailed.
Yeah, I was right there with you. I was like
10:30.
I know.
No joke.
I was like, really?
I know, yes.
Can't bump that up an hour.
Yeah, I guess from a TV viewing standpoint, they try to have it after that Copa semifinal. I'm Kevin Bowen. That is the voice of Mark Dykton. Andy Sweeney will be back tomorrow. Elijah Roberson in the building today. Elijah, always good to see you. Thanks for taking over Mark's duties. Everything good with you?
Oh, everything's going well. It's good to be back here doing the show again.
Elijah will be on the 1s and 2s today. We'll talk a little Team USA from last night. Obviously, Andrew Nembhard, the opponent there with Team Canada. Guest today look like this. I know there are probably some people that are like, oh my gosh, are they having Christian Watford on to talk the Watt shot?
Yes, of course.
Well, sure. We might throw a question or two the former IU Legends way, but we are a week away from that TBT tournament starting regionally here at Hinkle. And Butler has got a team in the field. We've got Shelvin Mack. Did you say next week, Mark?
Next Thursday at 9.
So Shelvin Mack will be part of that for Butler. Christian Watford, actually the GM for the IU team. So we'll chat with him about that. I've enjoyed kind of the TBT and how it's been this summer event, and I like that they've done a nice job, I think, trying to regionalize a little bit of it early on. Again, basically what you're looking at is primarily alumni from these respective schools. They get together. So for the IU team, think Troy Williams and Jordan Holes and Yogi Farrell and I think Race Thompson, if I'm not mistaken, is on the roster. So again, those games will take place next weekend at Hinkle. So we'll have Christian Watford join us at 9. Pat Boylan at 9:30. Probably safe to say, Mark Dykton, I would say the ugliest performance of the season for the Fever.
Outside of Caitlin Clark, yeah. Yeah, very ugly. It was a game where it's like you thought that they should come out firing on all cylinders, and you got a lineup change right out of the gate, which was, we can talk about that a little later and everything like that. But outside of Caitlin Clark, it was kind of reminded me, I was getting flashbacks of like early Fever games where there was very disorganized, lots of turnovers, and just seemed like they weren't gelling as much as they used to. So I don't really know what that was all about, whether that had to do with the noon start, whether it was just an off day, but just a very weird atmosphere. You were there with Rosie yesterday.
Yeah,
what did you all take in from that game?
Well, yeah, I don't know if there were more first quarter turnovers or more begging for candy throughout the course of the game from Rosie and her cousin Ellen on that end. Just an awful loss, and frankly,
really bad one.
Hey, I'm going to be selfish. I thought to a second, boy, I really hope. And I think Caitlin Clark's got a few more important things on her mind than our lowly show, but I'm thinking to myself, I hope she never associates our show with them losing to the Mystics at home.
Well, her stat line was very impressive.
Well,
so maybe
she's a competitor.
That's true.
Yeah, you watch her body language out there. I don't think, obviously 29-13 is tremendous effort from her, but yeah, I thought you pointed out well, Mark. Reminded me of early season Fever. Turnovers, inability to guard. That was a storyline, and you just can't rely on the miracle comeback. And obviously, the fourth quarter for those that were in the building, great atmosphere and trying to spearhead that comeback, and certainly some moments there where you put game pressure on the Mystics, but you just can't rely on that. Washington missing 3 double-digit scores. You're playing at home. We asked Christy Sides at the 9 o'clock hour yesterday, and this is kind of now the different, or I should say maybe the next chapter for the Fever team. You've gotten the big win at Phoenix. You got the big win over the Liberty. Now yesterday, they walked in there in their own building 6-point favorites, probably the highest they've been all season. Can you just take care of business? And, frankly, the NBA team in this market, too, struggled with these sorts of games last season where you should win this game. You need to win this game. I said yesterday, a loss, and you now give a Washington team that's below you in the standings a little bit of hope in that. So, yeah, just thoroughly disappointed. I feel like the turnovers for the Fever yesterday, I think it was 22, I believe was the final number.
21.
It just has a feel a little bit of like Matt Painter describing Purdue at times. Like, if we can just get out of our own way offensively, not have the self-inflicted stuff, they can score. I mean, they shot over 50% from the floor. Scoring is not an issue for this team whatsoever. And that's why, and I want to do this a little bit later. I think Elijah has this cut. I want to get to that Lynn Dunn answer in regards to the trade deadline yesterday with us, because I just can't agree with the team president on her answer on that end of what this team could look for trade deadline wise when it comes up, because to me I just I don't see the same answer that she gave us yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, outside, like I said, outside of Caitlin Clark, it was a very weird day for the Fever. Like, Aaliyah Boston played 21 minutes but only shot it 4 times. Kelsey Mitchell 0 for 8 from 3-point range. Like, just a very odd day, stat line wise from the game itself. And it was a game that you should have had. You should have taken care of business. And now it's one of those ones where instead of getting your 10th win of the season, now you're like, okay, like, how are we going to finish this last stretch of games before the Olympic break? Because that was one you should have had. That is one that shouldn't have been, 21 turnovers, and now you're looking up and you're down by a lot, and you're having to do a 29-point fourth quarter to try to come back into things. It was just a letdown from all angles, and it was just, after all the hype that we led into the game with, having Christy Sides and Lynn Dunn and Caitlin Clark on yesterday on the show and everything like that, you were hyped for the game, and then it was just kind of like the wind got out of the sails, and it was a major letdown. It was a very disappointing game from them.
A quick turnaround for the Fever. It'll be the Mercury back inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Again, these teams played just a couple weeks ago, obviously. That was a really marquee win for the Fever out in Phoenix. Diana Taurasi, for what it's worth, did not play yesterday for Phoenix. They have won 3 in a row since these teams last met, but it'll be a big one inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse coming up tomorrow.
And that's the thing. Now that you lost this one against the Mystics, there's more onus on getting these games against the Mercury, against the Lynx, against the Wings before the Olympic break. And it's just pressure that you don't really need to be putting on yourself, especially a team that's that many games under 500. When you're trying to get back in the playoff picture, you need to handle the teams that you should be beating, and you just didn't.
Tomorrow night will be the final home game until, as Mark pointed out there, the Olympic break. So they will play twice next week at Minnesota, at Dallas, and then that is it until that Olympic break. So August 18th will be their next home game after tomorrow night.
Will Christy Sides' voice be 100% by the time that happens? Hopefully.
It was struggling a little bit post-game there yesterday.
She took it in stride, though, with you trying to offer the lozenges to her.
I know, and you know what? Like, some people will be like, you clearly did that on purpose. I mean, I threw another one in this morning. I told you before the show started, I'm like, my voice is kind of hanging on by a thread a bit here.
Yeah, you need entertainment. What is it? Entertainer's Secret, the spray you used before?
Yeah, I don't think there's a bigger scam out there in America.
Oh. Well, there might be. Maybe in the throat spray, section of the world. But there might be other scams.
I must say, Katie Lou Samuelson, I asked Lynn Dunn about that going back into the starting lineup. And I'm a little bit looking at body language. I don't know how much this showed up on the YouTube stream. But when I asked Christy Sides yesterday about, why Katie Lou back in the starting lineup, there was like this pause and like a little bit of like like a nervousness in how she was answering the question. And at the time I'm like, Kevin, you're overreacting. You're like reading too much into body language. Well, then lo and behold, a couple hours later, they make another starting lineup change. They bench Nalissa Smith,
Yep.
And the answer afterwards was coach's decision and very coy, and that was odd. There's been a lot of lineup changes, and it's just it seems like outside of the big three, Boston, Mitchell, and Clark, they are searching majorly to try and find the other two starters, next to that trio. That was kind of an odd sequence with not only Christy Sides with us, but even odder post-game and her not wanting to reveal too much. I'm like, is there a disciplinary issue here?
Right.
Nalissa Smith still played, actually came off the bench, and I thought gave him a decent spark.
She
but
played 27 minutes. She played more than Lexi Hall and Aaliyah Boston. So
but then, lo and behold, in the fourth quarter, first, Lexi Hall starts for Alyssa Smith, but then the second half, it was flipped. They went back to Alyssa Smith. And then the fourth quarter, to spearhead their comeback, it was Boston and Alyssa Smith on the bench. So just some amidst them turning it around here in the month of June, I still think they have no idea what starter 4 and 5 should look like.
No, and it feels like even when, they're getting really solid victories with their lineups, they're still like, we're still going to tinker with it. And I feel like maybe, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But obviously they tinkered with it, and it didn't work yesterday, and they lost one that should have been a gimme against Washington, and now you're kind of, searching for answers again. And we're probably going to get another lineup change in the next game. So who knows? It is weird that she was so coy about what exactly happened and everything like that. That's not usually a response from her that you'd be expecting.
2 weeks from today, the first practice at Grand Park. We'll be up there for that. Colts training camp is rapidly approaching. Colts question of the day, I think I want to go back to the rookie class. Obviously, we talked a lot after the draft about Latu, A.D. Mitchell especially. Which rookie will get the most playing time? I think that's an interesting debate. I think there's a sleeper as a day 3 pick that is kind of one injury away from really, really having potentially a very important role here in this rookie season. So we'll do that at some point. I also, Mark, I don't know why this kind of popped into my head, but, this September slate for the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Home to Houston to start.
Yep.
At Green Bay in week 2.
Ooh.
Your Bears at Lucas Oil in week 3.
Mm-hmm.
The pesky Pittsburgh Steelers in week 4. Are the Bears going to be good this year?
Boy, I hope so. I hope they're good. They should be good. They look like they're going to be good. If you look at the Coach of the Year odds, Matt Eberflus is like tied for second for Coach of the Year honors. And
really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. They were a 7-win team. Now you would think a lot of talent that you've added to the roster. You would think that,
And refresh my memory again, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift.
You added
Roma Dunze, of course, in the
Caleb
draft.
Williams, obviously. There was some other moves.
A DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen trio.
It's tasty.
Yeah.
That's delicious.
So I guess I bring that up just to say, like, that September slate really jumps out to me with the Colts. I mean, I think, again, just playing C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love weeks 1 and 2, that stands out. And it's almost like if you would call anything a breather in the first 4 weeks, maybe Chicago, but not to just appease you here on this Thursday morning as you and I co-host today, but, like, I don't think the Bears are, like, your older brother's Bears this year. And I don't know, maybe I'm being way too premature on that. It's still Caleb Williams' 3rd game in the NFL. Who knows what it'll look like. But I went through some of the, what are the early, like, Vegas lines for the Colts in regards to their schedule, and that is one of the games they are favored in early on. And it's like, man, that's one that, again, on paper, you're probably chalking up as a win. But, if for some reason you start like 0-2, I mean, boy, can you imagine just the amount of pressure that would be on that week 3 game?
I did think the Colts' schedule when it came out it seemed like not a lot of people were talking about the difficulties starting out, but I was like, I feel like it's a bit tougher than people are
I thought people
kind of making it out to be.
I thought people looked at like 3 or 4 at home in September, and it just, chalked it up to like, oh, that's not too difficult, which, again, 3 or 4 at home is very nice, obviously, but still, I'm a little bit more bear optimistic than I think I thought I'd be.
Yeah, but even outside of that, the first 6 games, 3 of them are division games. So it's like you really need to the importance of getting out to a good start for this Colts team. It is in the first 6 games because you've got all 3 division opponents and you've got 3 non-division opponents that are pretty tough. 2 of the 3 were playoff teams, and the Bears obviously have some pretty high expectations heading into this season. So it is by no means a cakewalk of a schedule to start the season.
It was 86-72 last night. That was the final for Team USA over Canada. I was serious, by the way, at the start of the show. I actually thought Tyrese Halliburton brought a defensive intensity that I hadn't really seen. And, for those that did stay up, or really, I think all you had to do was watch the first half to get a great grasp on what transpired last night. The starters struggled mightily early on. That second unit goes in, and very a la the World Championships last summer, when Halliburton led that second unit, it quickly became a spark. And it was definitely that last night. Anthony Edwards, the fact that you can bring him off the bench tells you everything you need to know about the richness to this Team USA squad. But Halliburton had a couple of transition assists to kind of spark things a little bit. Again, Edwards is very good. And if you believe in plus minus, how about Tyrese Halliburton with the best on the team last night?
Boom.
Plus 17, 6 assists, no turnovers, 4 steals for the Pacers point guard on that end. Now, you pointed this out at the start of the show. If you were on Andrew Nembhard, Tyrese Halliburton point watch last night, you had to wait to the final 30 seconds of the game to see either of them score. It was a Halliburton steal and a bit awkward dunk. I'm not going to lie. When he went up for the dunk, I thought to myself, oh, gosh, this just doesn't look great. And he was able to get the ball in the hole and, came down on 2 feet and ran back on defense. But the old goose egg for Andrew Nembhard last night, 0 for 5 for Team Canada.
We were talking via text yesterday about show topics. What are we going to talk about? And I was like, oh, well, we got Zach Edey, we got Khalil Ware, we got the Halliburton, we got Nembhard. We can talk about all their performances. And if you added all 4 of their performances up, 2 points. Because Andrew Nembhard didn't score, and Zach Edey and Khalil Ware were DNPs for their summer league game.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed Edey didn't play because I thought after the night off he might play. Again, Memphis would now transition to Vegas for their summer league. I do think something to note on Halliburton. That to me is a perfect is maybe is too strong of a word, but you'd sign up for that performance if you're Steve Kerr out of him. 6 assists, no turnovers, 4 steals. Again, the catalyst for that second unit in distributing things. Ideally, that is he gets Tatum a layup early. He gets Bam a dunk. That's exactly what you want from a distribution standpoint. For Team Canada, they obviously, 72 points. I get it's a 40-minute game, but that is incredibly low for, a Canada team that is very skilled.
Oh, yeah.
From an NBA standpoint, particularly in the backcourt. So definitely going to be wanting a little bit more. Nembhard did come off the bench. There were some moments in the first half where Nembhard, I think Halliburton actually was guarding Nembhard there on a few of those possessions there. Joel Embiid fouled out midway through the third quarter.
So they're not like Summer League, obviously. They do follow the...
They do.
Unfortunately.
And the FIBA refs tend to do that quite often. We'll get to Kawhi Leonard and his sent home from Team USA. I know that sounds kind of harsh, but, that's how I read it. He just looked rusty, and they felt like, whatever, they couldn't take him over to Paris. So Derek White in for Team USA. We'll hit on that at some point. Again, Christian Watford going to join us at 9 o'clock, the manager for Team Indiana, if you will, here in this TBT tournament. Pat Boylan at 9:30. I did have several people reach out yesterday. Hey, I missed the Caitlin Clark interview. I was driving to work. I'm not a big podcast guy. Any chance you could throw it out there again? How about 8:30 today?
Boom.
For Caitlin Clark.
You're
so we'll throw that your way. And if you missed that, that's on our podcast page as well. But tons of downloads from that. So we definitely want to give our driving audience in the middle of the 8 o'clock hour an opportunity to hear that from earlier this week.
You're saying she's pretty popular? She moves the needle a bit?
Did you see the download numbers?
I did. Yep.
Yeah, I think that tells you everything you need to know.
Hey, Caitlin, would you like to come on weekly?
About that. It's, Maddie was asking me last night, have you seen anything from a follower standpoint? I'm like, it is wild. These Clark, Iowa-centric fan accounts that now follow me.
Yeah.
And, think that, I produce all this Caitlin Clark-centric work. And, just simply, I don't know if people care about this stuff, but just, simply me tweeting out the picture of Andy and I doing the interview and just saying, Caitlin Clark will join us tomorrow on the show. That is 5 times any Colts tweet.
You tag her in anything, and you get more engagement than most things.
We're talking Richardson highlights or, that's probably the Colts content that gets the most, reach for me from an impression standpoint. It's wild to see, but certainly just be inside a Gainbridge Fieldhouse yesterday. The amount of jerseys, the amount of different Iowa shirts. I'm like, these Iowa shirt companies had to have made so much money off of
hand over fist. They're making money.
Yeah, and they're all very creative shirts. I find myself looking very closely. I'm like, okay, where's the goat in relation to the tutu and all of that stuff?
I still want a Clarkamania, like the old Hulkamania shirt. I want someone to make a Clarkamania shirt, but have the Fever colors. No one's done it yet. I need to patent that idea. Are you sure?
Because there are a million Caitlin Clark-related shirts.
I haven't seen it with the Fever colors or anything like that. I would like someone to do that. And send me one, please.
Mark Dykton again filling in for Andy Sweeney on this Thursday morning. I'm Kevin Bone. Elijah Roberson punching things on the ones and twos here for us. Thanks for spending this Thursday morning with us. It is the wake-up call right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Basketball. Season tickets are on sale now. Order by August 1st for your shot at the best seats in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
How did the Olympic debuts go in the exhibition slate for Tyrese Halliburton? Andrew Nemhard will hit on that here in a few minutes. Let's lead off this morning check down yesterday. Mark Dykton with what happened over at Gamebridge Fieldhouse with the Indiana Fever.
Yeah, it was an ugly one. I mean, you were in attendance with Rosie, so I'm sure you guys had a blast and everything like that. But outside of Caitlin Clark, it was an ugly performance. Fever fall to the Washington Mystics 89-84, 21 turnovers in the game. Like I said, gave me flashbacks of early Fever games this season where they just didn't gel much and just were very discombobulated. Caitlin Clark became the first WNBA player, though, with 29 points, 13 assists, 5 steals, 5 rebounds, and hit five 3-pointers in a game. Easy for me to say. But did that yesterday, but unfortunately they came up short. She talked about it after the game. What went wrong?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. We definitely started slow, and that's kind of what killed us. Like, you can't – our fourth quarter was great, but you can't play one quarter of basketball and expect to win in this league. So got to find a way to come out and have more energy. They really, punched us in the mouth. I thought they were really good. We struggled a little bit defensively. We struggled to take care of the ball. I think we had 8 turnovers in that first quarter. So hard to win games like that, but we know we can be a lot better.
That might have been their worst quarter of the season, if you want to be fully honest about it. Like she said, 8 turnovers defensively, backdoor to death. Mystics are missing 3 double-digit scores. That just kind of adds to the salt on it. And, again, this is a team right now that is outside of the playoff picture. The Fever are in the playoffs. They have the final playoff spot, so it's important to just, sweep these teams even further under the rug, not give them a little bit of hope, and that's what happened yesterday with the Fever. So tomorrow night, 7:30, that is an Ion game. Your ears okay, Elijah?
I don't remember it being that loud before. What happened?
You're talking about the swoosh?
Gone? Yeah, the swoosh, man.
Caitlin Clark had 20 members of Nike meeting with her the other day after us, so, we're going to swoosh it loud here on this Thursday morning. All right, Major League Baseball yesterday. Mark, I hate to say it, but I think your guys are playing some good baseball.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Cubs shut out the Orioles 4-0. That is 5 of the last 6 W's for the Cubs. So all of a sudden,
do you believe?
I don't know. I don't know. I tuned in and right as I got into the game, I saw 8 pitches. Here comes the rain, and there was a delay for 30 minutes, and I was like, okay, well I can just watch my phone now. But I'm optimistic, but they are still just they're so far under 500. I can't get fully on board, but it is like you said. It's that time of the month where
it's the last time for hope.
Yeah, all of a sudden. But yeah, Shota Imanaga looked good and all that stuff. So all of a sudden, the Cubs bats are starting to wake from their slumber, and all of a sudden, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, other than that, not a great night for your Reds. They lost to the Rockies 6-5. The Brewers just shellacked the Pirates 9-0 right there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about your Reds right now? Are you optimistic or no?
Is that a serious question?
No, I'm being serious. You're asking me about my Cubs. I'm asking you about your Reds.
What the hell do you think the answer would be?
I assumed you're all in on Ellie De La Cruz, and after that, you can kind of take it or leave it.
I thought Ellie was going to have some ninth-inning magic last night. He did not. No, I'm not optimistic about the Reds at all. Indians lose 3-1. Doubleheader today. Should be a nice day. Should be really a nice, looks like, next couple of days. So, Victory Field. Doubleheader, 5:35 tonight for the Indians.
And those are the 7-inning games still.
And Columbus,
they still do the 7-inning games.
And I think some people are confused, wait, they're starting a doubleheader at 5:35? Well, yes, they can get that done with the 7-inning action. Other items of note, Pacers Summer League will begin tomorrow night. So that'll be, I think they got Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken, the first game. Basically, when you don't draft anyone of note, and I guess that kind of qualifies for the Pacers, you're not going to have very many marquee Summer League matchups. So 8 o'clock tomorrow, that is NBA TV. They'll then play on Sunday against the Timberwolves. I think that is another NBA TVer. And then next week, we'll have a couple games on ESPN for the Pacers in the Summer League. Pacers threw out a pretty cool picture yesterday, Mark. If you want to retweet that from our show account of all their guys out there taking in Andrew Nemhard and Tyrese Halliburton. We'll update you on what happened last night with them on the other side. But Vegas abound for the Pacers, and their Summer League will get underway tomorrow.
Did you see the world's highest paid G League player with his 3 points last night?
Yeah, and then I saw like people acting like this is a shame. You aren't giving him credit for his defense. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this going to be a Bronny James all year long?
Yeah, it's already, and it's not his fault, but yeah, the oversaturation from media attention is already like, you would have thought if you had ESPN notifications on his first game, you would have thought he hit like a triple-double or something with how many notifications they sent. Like, Bronny James, he's in the lineup, he's playing. I'm like, okay, I don't care. Like, it's going to be like that all year. I mean, it's just.
Oh man, am I allowed to feel bad for the kid?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can.
I mean, I get he's LeBron's son, and that leads to some pretty nice advantages in life. But
yeah,
still.
I'd say that contract would be one of them.
Yeah. Other items of note, we mentioned it last week. Short-term loss for long-term gain. Is that how you view the Greg Berhalter firing yesterday? Should the U.S. men's soccer team hire Indy 11's coach?
They could. I mean, I saw the hashtag Berhalter out trending for about a week and a half on Twitter. And I'm like, when is this happening? And they just kept saying Team USA is thinking about it. They're thinking about it. And finally, they evaluated in like 4 o'clock yesterday. They said, yeah, he's out. It's like, okay, what took so long?
Iowa doubleheader for IndyCar coming up this weekend. That is that Hy-Vee race. Tons of great concerts around that doubleheader. It'll be Saturday night, 8 o'clock, and then a quick turnaround, I think Sunday at noon, I believe. As they are back on the oval. First time they've been on the oval there since the Indy 500.
Did you see, I don't think you probably did, but did you see any of the Uruguay-Colombia kerfuffle?
Because that was on right before USA-Canada.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I watched probably like the last 20-ish minutes. It was great theater because was it Uruguay was a man down?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, I mean, they were up a goal. Yeah, that was great entertainment. And then their players ran it in the stands.
Yeah.
Did we get in? I mean, I didn't see, like, any great video.
No, it was all, I mean, the Fox cameras caught it, but yeah, I don't know what exactly sparked it or anything like that. But, yeah, an ugly scene.
That was the Panthers stadium, is that right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Do you remember when the Colts and Panthers played on Monday Night Football and the game had to be stopped for a brief period due to protests? Do you remember this?
I don't remember that.
I want to say, I think Pep Hamilton was fired the next day. So I'm going to guess like 2014, 15, probably 15. Yeah. I think the Colts lost in overtime. Bank of America, I think it was Bank of America at the time. That's what the protests were. I don't ask me why, but they literally got people got into the arena or into the stadium and were able to like suspend themselves from the second level.
I do remember that now.
So they're like dangling.
Yeah.
It was quite impressive. I thought to myself, boy, Bank of America might want to worry about their security stadium-wise before anything bank-related.
More impressive that they did that than the ones that sprayed paint on the green a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Although there were a lot of them at that golf tournament.
Mm-hmm.
There was like 5 or 6 of them. That was pretty impressive. But yeah, they didn't seem very strategic in their manners.
No,
you got one on the green, but it's like, what's running through the bunker really going to do?
Snap an ankle probably doing that.
Sure. Yeah, it sounds like something our children would do.
Yeah.
Honestly, on that end. All right, last night, it was a late one out in Vegas. Tyrese Halliburton's USA debut here in this Olympic cycle. Andrew Nemhard officially named to Team Canada yesterday. His debut as well. What did it look like? We'll share that. Colts question of the day coming up in a bit. It is the wake-up call here on a Thursday. Mark Dykton filling in for Andy Sweeney.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Good Thursday morning to you. I do think weather-wise should be improving here for the next couple of days with Kevin Bowen. You've got Mark Dykton alongside. Andy Sweeney day off today. He'll be back in the saddle tomorrow. Elijah Roberson on the ones and twos. We'll talk a little Olympics here. Tyrese Halliburton and Andrew Nembhard in just a second. Speaking of the Olympics, some Olympic-centric guests on the horizon for us. Cole Hawker going to join the show tomorrow at 8:30. He is the winner of the 1,500 in the U.S. Olympic trials. Great race, great close from the Cathedral product, Indy Zone. Pretty cool story in the sense of, if anyone has been to Cathedral High School, their track, I don't look at that track and think Olympians are produced on that track. It doesn't look like the swimming pools in Carmel, let me just say that.
It looks a bit different.
Just a tad different on that end. So Cole Hawker, his second Olympics coming up here. And by all accounts, the 1,500-meter race in Paris is supposed to be an absolute doozy, just from the amount of parity across the board worldwide in that. And then, Mark, on Tuesday, we have Allie Wilson scheduled to join us. Her ties to Indy a little bit more recent. Broad Ripple nanny turned Olympian.
That's quite the
Is that a nice
LinkedIn
headline?
Yeah.
So
how does that work?
So and again, we'll have Allie on to obviously fact check all of us on this. But if I have this correct, there were some coaching changes within the last year plus for her. So she relocated to train here in Indy. And I think at the time she was, maybe some sponsorship kind of fell off for her. So to make a little bit extra dough on the side, she put on the old nanny cap here in the Broad Ripple area and then did her training at night.
Now, is nanny different than babysitter? Like, nanny's more like you're more
nanny strikes me as 9 to 5. Babysitter strikes me as at night.
Yeah, you're covering like they're going to a concert. They're going to go see OAR or something.
Yeah, which I would love to go see OAR and get a babysitter now that you say that.
Yeah, well,
I think we did that last year.
Caitlin
Now
Clark
I think about
said she's elite, so,
she did.
Put out a line there.
She was also very quickly.
Nanny is more like you're trying to get you're
9 to 5,
changing
Monday through Friday.
diapers. The mom is taking a siesta or something.
Sure. Well, I mean, you're going to the grocery and you're shopping for the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
disciplining the children.
Yeah. Can't say we're in the nanny
Put
camp
that cookie down
on that. But yes, 2 Olympians coming up here in the next handful of days. We'll try to get a few more coming at you as we get closer to Paris. Again, last night we did see, it was a late one, USA and Canada from Vegas there, a 10:30 tip. And I guess before we get to the game itself, just a hat tip to Andrew Nembhard for making Team Canada. And I was reminded of this in watching the game last night. This time last year, Andrew Nembhard was playing in the Summer League. And if you remember, Mark, Nembhard and Mathurin said no to Team Canada last year. Like, they could have been in the World Championships with Canada, yet they said no. And for year 2 in the NBA, they wanted to go to the Summer League and play with the Pacers. And, I guess I'm confused a little bit in, weighing your international presence in regards to the World FIBA game for your respective country versus your role in the NBA. Obviously, we saw Zach Edey say no to Canada here in the last couple of weeks. But I remember the time being like, wow, really? Is that the smartest thing for Nembhard and Mathurin? Wouldn't getting that international experience alongside Jamal, I don't know if Murray was on the team, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Dylan Brooks, et cetera, that would seem to be super beneficial for them. And yet both of them decided to go to the Summer League, and look at how it's worked out for Nembhard especially. A year later, we're talking about how big that extension could look like. He has a strong presence on Team Canada. He was one of the first guys off the bench last night. I know he didn't play good last night, but still, those decisions I think could be probably pretty difficult for some of these guys to sift through. And for Nembhard, clearly it worked.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know how much different the experience and how much his performance would have been elevated if he was on Canada instead of the Summer League last year. But obviously, he made a name for himself in the playoffs, where you probably had, executives from around the league like, who's this Nembhard guy? He's pretty good. Where'd they get him from? And so he kind of, made his name there with just kind of big shots down key moments and everything like that. So if that all ties back into his Summer League play, then yeah, more power to him that he did that and, got more experience and everything like that. And now he's on Canada for the Olympics and, didn't get a ton of playing time, but he's definitely one of the marquee names that are on that roster. I mean, like you said, SGA, Jamal Murray, Dylan Brooks, R.J. Barrett. That's a who's who on the Canadian team. That's a pretty solid roster that they have going over there, too.
Nembhard was 0 for 5 last night. Did struggle. 16 minutes off the bench for him. Tyrese Halliburton, and this will shock a lot of our audience, he brought it defensively last night, and I say that, again, in all seriousness. 4 steals in 40 minutes. I looked up last year he had, again, 48-minute NBA game. He had more than 4 steals in one game all of last season. So that goes to show you what he was giving you on the defensive end of the floor.
Some people said this was the game yesterday was what the All-Star game should be, where guys are trying defensively and actually playing tough. I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's probably the closest you're going to get to like All-Star level rosters and that kind of effort.
I had an audible, Maddie and I are sitting there watching it last night, and I had an audible wow after the first possession. She's like, what? Why are you saying that? I'm like, they're actually guarding each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess I didn't know what to expect. I mean, again, once they get over into the Olympics, I obviously expect a high level of intensity, but for the exhibition game in Vegas, I didn't think it would be at that level. I mean, Mark, the final score is 86-72.
Yeah.
And again, I get it's 40 minutes, and I get the shooting with the FIBA ball is a little different, but I'd love to see what the over-under was going into last night, because I guarantee you the under hit significantly.
That was a barn burner in the 80s for the box score, probably, but yeah. Not so much in 2024.
72 points turns into what, like 85 if you play a 48-minute game? It's not even like Canada would have scored that many. Again, for USA last night, Halliburton, the point guard at that second unit, outstanding. I know the point total, he literally didn't score till the final 30 seconds of the game. 6 assists, 0 turnovers, 4 steals, the best plus-minus of anyone in the game. First possession, he gets a jump ball just off of a great defensive play. I'm like, whoa, show me more here. Halliburton, very, very good. I would think Steve Kerr's got to be pleased with that. So, nice debut.
Well, I'm sure Rick Carlisle, same way. It's the same thing. He's like, hey, that defense looked pretty good.
Seriously.
Bring that back this season when we're trying to run it back, and we need all the defensive effort we can.
You surprised Devin Booker in the starting lineup? It was Steph Curry, Devin Booker, Drew Holiday, LeBron, and Joel Embiid.
I'm not. I mean, I feel like it's kind of interchangeable for the most part, but I mean, Devin Booker, I mean, he's still pretty solid. I know he's gotten a lot of flack the last couple of years and everything like that, but I still say he's a pretty solid starter, don't you? You would replace him?
Well,
You'd swap him out?
Yeah, I don't. I think when Durant's healthy, Durant obviously needs to start. So I don't know. Would you swap Durant for Booker, Steph, Holiday? Holiday is so key and that's why I thought Derek White for Kawhi Leonard, that news we saw yesterday, makes sense for me. Like, to me, with Steph and Tyrese Halliburton, you don't have very defensive-minded guards with those two. Obviously, Halliburton showed a little bit more last night than he has, but still. Gosh, the over-under was 202.5 last night. 86-72.
Oh, boy.
Unbelievable. Like Derek White, to me.
If you're betting on, by the way, if you're betting on basketball exhibition games, you might need to call somebody.
Oh, stop. You've bet on far worse.
No, that's not true.
1,000%.
Not true. Never an exhibition game. Well, wait a minute. No, never on an exhibition game.
No, you've bet on like spring training baseball.
No, that's not true at all. That is a blatant lie.
I might need to see your...
I'll find the bet slips.
Your bet slips. Elijah, do you have an issue with betting on USA Canada?
I don't bet at all. I try to avoid that. I just feel like it can be fun, but especially if I'm betting on USA and Canada, yeah, I might have a problem. So I don't.
Elijah's more concerned about going to the Morgan County Fair, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that what you said?
Yeah.
He's more worried about that.
Yeah.
I got to make sure all the rides are there this year.
He needs Mother Nature to cooperate for the Morgan County Fair tonight. By the way, it looks like it will. So that's 158. That was the point total last night?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That didn't even get close.
Not even close on that end. I forget where I was going with it. I guess Derek White, again, to me, he's low maintenance. And not to act like Kawhi's high maintenance. But, again, I think getting another guard in there that will happily take on whatever role Steve Kerr throws his way. And defensively, when you look at the world game, I would say for the most part, it's more kind of big men. Team France, of course, with Gobert and Wembanyama. But still, I feel like there are moments where Team USA, like, Bogdan Bogdanovic goes off for 25, and they just can't guard him. So whether it's Drew Holiday or Derek White, obviously when you see Team Canada, if you do see them again, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who struggled last night, that is key to having the starting lineup. So I'd probably take Booker out and throw Durant in there. Durant, again, did not play. Only 10 for USA last night. Derek White in there for Kawhi. The Kawhi thing's kind of weird. Did you read the press release?
So I saw the Shams stuff, and I saw that what Steve Kerr had to say. But so
they told him to go home.
Yeah, and Steve Kerr was saying he hopes he's in a good place mentally or something like that, and they wish the best for him because the game needs him and everything like that. And then there's a Kawhi Leonard quote, that's a little bit odd and everything like that too. So, what were your takeaways from that? Because the whole situation seems a bit weird. Where it's like, was he just out there for the trip to Vegas, or was there a fallout that happened out there?
No, my guess based off what Team USA said and Grant Hill's comments was just they didn't feel like he looked like his normal self.
Yeah.
Which Kawhi obviously has battled injury issues throughout his career. If I'm not mistaken, I think in the first scrimmage against that select team, he was like the best player for Team USA. And again, I think, he could be a really key kind of 6th, 7th guy for you. But again, I don't know how much Kawhi, probably not, given Kawhi's reputation. He's probably not going to be too revealing on the why behind it. But based off how Team USA's comments played out, it sounded like he didn't look like his normal self for whatever reason. And they didn't want to take him over there and all of a sudden get into a situation where they're like, dude, you're not going to play or whatever. So they told him to go home, and now they're bringing Derek White in.
Steph Curry's exact quote said, I know he wanted to play. Hopefully for the long term, he's in a good place because the game needs him. When he's not out there, you miss an all-time great player. We hope he's ready for this season. So that tells you that maybe, it's a physical thing and maybe a little bit of a mental thing, but it's very odd. I remember that came out. Yeah, when that came out yesterday, I was like, wait a minute. I know Kawhi Leonard is a bit of a eccentric person in the first place, but it's a very odd situation, I would say.
The Pacers were in attendance last night. Pacers tweeted out a picture of their players in like a suite area, and again, Summer League starts tomorrow night for Indiana. Jarris Walker with a nice little smile there, front and center. One of our P1 listeners, Michael, reached out to me, Mark, and asked me this question. He goes, can Jarris Walker be Draymond Green with a jump shot and less attitude?
I mean, as long as you're not punching anybody, I'd say that'd be a solid comp otherwise.
Oh, I mean, in my opinion, it'd be a great comp.
Yeah.
I also think it's a bit
that's a lofty goal, yeah.
I mean, Draymond Green is a very good basketball player.
Yeah.
I get that he's got antics, obviously, and the jump shot at times just continues to look broker, but that dude knows how to play. And to me, if Jarris Walker could reach that, like, I don't know, when I saw the question, I'm like, I think you're underestimating Draymond's feel and his defense. But at the same time, watching Walker a little bit, it's like, I feel like there's a lot more offensively than I originally thought.
Yeah, and
possible.
Now can they, harness that and, push that out onto the court once they get playing? You hope to see that and everything, and maybe that'll happen once Summer League gets going and all that stuff. But those are lofty expectations, I would say. You would be loving it if he turns into a Draymond Green on the court, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. And
I mean,
again,
you'd be thrilled.
I would take probably poor man's Draymond, and, more of the focus to me would be, on that defensive end. He points out, with the jump shot. I mean, it's kind of wild to think Jarris Walker shot 40% from 3 last year.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not a number that I thought he would have sniffed at all. So, again, Pacers Summer League going to get underway tomorrow night, 8 o'clock tip with that one. Jarris Walker, Ben Shepherd, Johnny Furphy and company getting underway. I forgot about the Purdue boys, Lance Jones, Dakota Mathias as well, playing in the Pacers Summer League.
Who's the most intriguing you want to see in the Summer League? Furphy?
Well, I mean, Walker would be the easy answer. Furphy, yeah, just because, even when you watch Kansas, I had people reach out like, hey, I'm an IU fan. I don't even remember Furphy from that matchup. Well, yeah, I mean, he wasn't really playing at all. So certainly it's, I think it's going to be one of these things, Mark, where, again, Pacers Summer League is 5 games long. We saw it last year with Nemhard and Matherin. Typically, your frontline guys will play the first couple games, play a good amount of minutes, and then they'll move out of the way for the other guys. Andy and I did the stupid exercise of, you mentioned betting on USA-Canada exhibition games. We literally talked about what the starting lineup for the Summer League should look like. Nothing says July 11th audio like that. But, if I'm going to make out a Summer League starting 5, I don't know if I have Furphy in it right away. And Tristan Newton at the point, Ben Shepherd at the 2, Jarris Walker at the 3. I don't think Furphy's a 4. Maybe your guy, Enrique Freeman, who I know you guys, had on briefly along with John Gross. last week, he would be the 4, Oscar Shibwe would be the 5. So, yeah, it's probably Walker. And, I actually want to watch Shepard too. And I want to watch selfish Ben Shepard. I want to watch Shepard as I can be the best offensive player out here and not just super complimentary role, which I know he can do. I mean, he proved that this year.
Summer League MVP Ben Shepard.
Yeah, I want to watch, I want to be, I don't know if they give out individual MVP awards for games in the Summer League.
Maybe you can bet on that, too.
But I want Ben Shepard
of Olympic exhibition games
to be that. So I'd say that. Again, dirty work from Jarris Walker, and then as those two exit, Johnny Furphy time.
Yeah. Furphy it up, baby. Let's see it. Yeah, I'm excited. So we'll see. Hopefully they, put on a good show and good effort and everything like that. And we'll have a little bit more to talk about once that gets going outside of Zach Edey and Khalil Ware getting 0 minutes of playing time yesterday for both of their things.
Yeah, and Memphis didn't go full second team last night with their Summer League, so I don't know if that was more ankle-related for Edey. Again, for those that missed Edey's Summer League debut, he turned the ankle early in the third quarter, immediately went to the bench. It probably was one of the more banged up I've seen Edey, dating back throughout his Purdue career. I don't remember him, in that much pain on the court. Now, he quickly, shooed the trainer away, went back in the game about 90 seconds later, played the rest of the game. Memphis, again, they are taking part in the Salt Lake Summer League and the Vegas Summer League. So they played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I thought there was a chance Edey would play last night after the night off. He did not. So tomorrow night, they do play. Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday is Memphis's Vegas Summer League schedule. So the next chance we could see Edey would be tomorrow night on that end.
Line is out to get Zach Edey on the show at some point once Summer League wraps up. So we'll see if that happens. Yeah.
We've never had him, correct?
I don't believe so. I don't think so. So the bat signal's out.
All right, coming up in a bit, Christian Watford going to join the show at 9 o'clock. For those curious, what is this, the 12-and-a-half-year anniversary for the Watt shot? Yeah, it probably is. Actually, it might be. I think
we're getting close. Yeah, I mean,
no, we're not having Christian Watford on to celebrate that anniversary for the Watt shot.
Not the Sandberg game is what you're saying?
He's the GM of the IU TBT team, and I think we see this now a little bit more in the summer months, reach some relevance. Here at Hinkle Fieldhouse, coming up next weekend, Butler will have a team participating. So will Indiana as well. Again, Christian Watford, the GM of that. Shelvin Mack going to join us coming up next week to talk more about him playing for Butler. So we'll do that in the 9 o'clock hour. If you missed the Caitlin Clark interview from us yesterday and you were driving your car in that 8 o'clock hour, we'll run that one more time for our 8:30 audience there. Then Pat Boylan going to join us coming up at 9:30, as it was an ugly one yesterday for the Fever over at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Colts question of the day, rookie playing time. We'll do that on the other side.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Re-entries today, courtesy of the one and only Elijah Roberson. That has slid Mark Dykton over to the Andy Sweeney chair.
These are Morgan County Fairgrounds songs. I feel like you walk around and these are the songs you hear.
Yeah, you want to ride the
Normally
zippers.
it's more bluegrass or like a weird Elvis cover band at the Morgan County Fair up on the free stage with a 60-year-old man singing Elvis.
You get your first kiss on the zipper and then come over and play skee ball here at the Morgan County
The phrasing
Fair.
there, Kevin. Kiss on the zipper, easy now.
Mark Dykton, of course, that is the voice of him. Andy Sweeney out today. Andy rocks Crocs, right? John and
He does,
JMV
yeah.
and I had this conversation yesterday, right?
We had to send him home ahead of the Caitlin Clark interview. Like, you need to change shoes, man. You need to be a little more presentable with your footwear than seeing Caitlin Clark with Crocs on, I would think.
He was
Especially
very
with
willing.
Nike executives in town. I think the Nike guys would look at those and be like, well, wait a minute now.
Well, I mean,
Let's get you
I
fitted
did
for shoes, sir.
have to laugh a little bit. Again, for those who missed it, we'll play that Caitlin Clark interview one more time coming up for our 8 o'clock audience here in about a half hour. I had to laugh like we were debating Crocs on Andy Sweeney's feet, and here's Caitlin Clark walking into a 20-person Nike meeting,
Yeah.
probably designing the shoe that will, maybe make the most money ever. Can you
Probably.
imagine your daughters and mine wanting that shoe?
Oh, yeah.
And millions of... I mean, well, one thing that I was struck by yesterday at the game is, there's so many young boys wearing Caitlin Clark, different fan gear. I was talking to one of my wife's friends last night, whose son I think is about to be like 5, and she's like, "Oh no, when we went into the store, he wanted the Caitlin Clark shirt before anything else." I mean, so yeah, it's insane. I mean, you've been to Fever games, Mark. It is they don't play road games. I mean, it's straight up, everything's neutral from a Clark fandom standpoint. Again, she was very, very good yesterday, but did not get really any help. I don't even know who the second best Fever player would have been.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah, we live in Brownsburg, obviously, so we live near some of the schools. So when we would go on walks or something like that while the kids are in school, you hear the playground noises and everything like that, and the kids are playing basketball. And I've heard more than a few boys go, back in the day you'd say Jordan or Kobe, and I hear Clark from 3.
Yeah,
I mean that's what it is these days.
sure. I know.
My daughter's the same way, but yeah, I've heard plenty of boys yell out Clark from 3. And
Yeah, I took my my daughter and my niece to the game yesterday, and when my nephew got wind that he wasn't going, he was like, "Wait, you mean Ellen, my sister, gets to go see Caitlin Clark?" And I was like, "Well, yeah," and it was just kind of funny to see his reaction on that end. Again, Fever lose yesterday, and probably I think it's fair to say their worst performance of the season, considering the competition, considering the home game, considering the Mystics missing 3 double-digit scores, quick turnaround,
and the
Fever.
heater that they were kind of on too. It was kind of just like just a punch in the gut where you're like, oh, we couldn't keep that good time rolling.
Yeah, and I think there's just a level. I don't know if maturity is the right word, but this is kind of the next step of just handle the Wednesday noon business. And for those that were wondering, I had a lot of people asking, and I thought we said this on the show yesterday, but just to remind people, why are the Fever playing a Wednesday noon game? I think a lot of people had that question. This was kind of a league-wide thing the WNBA has done really annually, and that there is a heavy kid presence at these games around the league. For those that did go to the game yesterday, it maybe not have been the throng of kids that typically attend these games, but tons of camps and, kids all in the same T-shirts and
Camp day or whatever it's
yeah,
called.
and again, with season ticket numbers rising for the Fever, it probably wasn't as kid-centric as it has been in years past, but still, you had tons of kids in the building yesterday. If you looked at the WNBA schedule yesterday, there were a couple of other noon games. I think this is kind of a league-wide thing. I think it's a great idea that the league has done before in years past. All right, let's get to our Colts question of the day on this Thursday morning.
Time now for your Colts question of the day.
All right, Mark Dykton, we have talked, I think a little of, Luke points out here, Lexi Hall was probably the second best Fever player yesterday. Yeah, she was a big part of the fourth quarter comeback on that end. Colts rookie class. It's I think there's a wide makeup of guys and rookie expectations for them. The question I would have is who plays the most? Which rookie plays the most in 2024? If I threw that question your way, you would say who?
My answer, and I think it would be pretty obvious, would be A.D. Mitchell. He's my choice. I think even as a rookie wide receiver, wide receivers get mixed into play. Every drive, you're getting thrown in multiple plays there. There's different sets and everything like that. So I'd not only expect him to see the most playing time, I'd also see him as having the biggest impact on the roster.
So more than Latu?
Yes, I think Latu will get, cycled into the defensive line rotation and everything like that. But as far as an every down or, mostly every down guy and a guy with the biggest impact, I would say that would be A.D. Mitchell in my mind, because I just feel like when you're looking for those deep threats from Anthony Richardson and whatnot, he's going to be looking his way. And with all the praise we've heard for A.D. Mitchell from the coaching staff to players, I just feel like he's going to be the biggest impact guy and the guy that's going to earn the most playing time. Latu will be there. I think he will be a close second. I also think Tanner Bortolini could see quite a bit if he can find himself in the rotation on the offensive line, maybe even supplant a starting offensive lineman at some point this season. Those would be my three, but it would go Mitchell, Latu, and then Bortolini for me.
Yeah, it's I think you could make a strong debate for either Mitchell or Latu. For either of the offensive linemen, Matt Gonzalez in round 3, Tanner Bortolini in round 4, I think for either of them to play, it would take a big injury.
Yeah.
I think Will Fries is pretty entrenched at right guard, and I'd be surprised. Maybe you see a Blake Freeland type rookie year for one of those two, but to me, it's going to take an injury. Whereas Mitchell and Latu, I don't think it's going to take an injury to play. Mitchell, if you look at last year, Josh Downs played, I think it was like 780 some snaps. So could Mitchell kind of play some sort of role like that? Obviously, he would eat a ton away from Alec Pierce's snaps with that. For Latu, again, I don't think Latu is going to be an outright starter, and I don't think that's the end of the world. I think as long as he rotates in, which that position group rotates more than probably any other, as long as he rotates in on those passing downs, I still think that it can be a very, very vital role for this team. The question for Latu then becomes, is it a Dayo Dengbo type role? Like what? And that's like a little bit north of 600 snaps for him. So, if you had to make me pick, I'd probably go Mitchell just on pure snap count. But I want to stress, just because Latu doesn't start, just because Latu might not play 50-some snaps at defensive end, doesn't mean he won't play a very important role for this football team.
Right. Can he make the impact when he's out there? That's what you're going to be looking for in his mind. Whereas Mitchell, he might not get the ball every single play, but he can at least, maybe confuse some defenses or get some defenders to look his way, and that will open up some other guys on the offensive side. Whereas Latu, you're going to be curious to see, can he get to the quarterback? Can he break up some of these, timing routes with the wide receivers for the opposing teams and all that stuff? Whereas I think A.D. Mitchell can kind of wreak havoc. Even when he's not getting the ball, he can kind of take some eyes of the defenders away from, other wide receivers for the Colts. So I think that's why he would be my pick for the guy who's not only going to get the most playing time, but the guy who's going to have the biggest impact on the roster. Like I said, the coaching staff has talked him up even, in mini camps and everything like that. They have not played the rookie coach speak card with A.D. Mitchell. Right. They've just said this guy's doing it. He's taking care of business and all that stuff. He's everything we thought he could be. And he brings something different to our room. I think that is key to focus on. It's not like, hey, we feel like he's similar to Michael Pittman. We feel like he's similar to Josh Downs. We feel like he's similar to Alec Pierce. No. When they describe Mitchell, it's like, no, he's different. And I think that is something. And I think that's also where my confidence in him getting the most playing time comes from, is that you don't normally see that with a rookie of any sort. Sure. And to see that kind of praise right out of the gate from, almost universal praise from the coaching staff, that tells you a lot about the motor and the determination, the drive that this guy has, that I think that's going to be even more prevalent in the regular season. I do think there's a day 3 pick that could challenge, and it's going to need an injury, but could play a huge role. I want to get to that. Elijah, you said we had a call from Gino in regards to A.D. Mitchell?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Gino, good Thursday morning to you, man.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How are y'all doing?
We are great. Good. Thanks for calling.
Oh, yeah, good shit. Hey, real quick, man.
Whoa, easy now.
My fault.
This is not Sirius XM.
Gino, we ain't at the bar with all the buddies here. It's just 8:10, a little family friendly. We got people driving to, drop off their kids. So continue there.
Absolutely. My bad. But I am on board, honestly, with both of you about Latu and A.D. Mitchell. To the point about being more involved or more snap count, that's a little bit different than being more punctual, right? Because I think Latu is going to be more punctual on the defensive end with our defense running 4-3 and having the second-year guys with the back end. I think now we obviously don't know, but I think that Latu's going to have more impact on the defensive side than AD will have on the offensive side, just because full off season, like you said, with Jonathan Taylor, with Anthony Richardson, and then on top of that, I mean, everybody's counting out Alec Pierce, man, and he's unsung hero, man. I'm on board with him.
Gino, good stuff, man. We
that PG version.
We appreciate that. Gotta love the energy. Elijah, did you dump that?
Yeah, I was
get that?
pretty quick on that. That's the last time I did this show. I had to do the same thing with Rick Carlisle. So this is my second time in a row that this has happened. So I must be a bad omen.
And what was the Carlisle phrase?
Same word. Oh. The when the SH.
Well, yeah. We know the word. What was the context?
Oh, I can't remember. This is like back in December. So
I'm trying to think what it was. Do you remember it, Mark?
I don't know. I've dumped him a couple times for saying fudge. So
yeah, Carlisle's had a few with us there. Thank you, Gino, for that energy on this Thursday morning. I get what he was saying. You know, I do think Latu. I mean, if he can just obviously like a sack or two or a pressure or two, I mean that can be super impactful. Whereas again, to feel Mitchell, it maybe can be a little bit more of a hey, you need 4 or 5 catches to really feel him. The thing about Mitchell that was interesting at Texas, he really didn't have the consistent, like when you think about Michael Pittman Jr., it's 8 catches for 91 yards in a game. Like that was not A.D. Mitchell at Texas at all. And really that was probably a big difference from him than some of these other wideouts that were drafted. He didn't have the consistency in college. The biggest thing he had was on the biggest stages he made plays. You know, a touchdown in each of the 5 playoff games that he played in, which it's amazing he played in 5 playoff games. It's even more amazing he caught a touchdown in every single one of them. Like that is just, yeah, that is clutch gene like no other.
I mean, I get what he's saying too with the Latu stuff because like one catch from A.D. Mitchell will not do much necessarily, but one sack from a Latu that could be a drive killer or just, you know, maybe force a turnover, that could have a huge impact on a game. Whereas like one sack versus one catch is obviously very different. But I mean, I just feel like A.D. Mitchell is going to get more opportunities with the ball thrown his direction or just disrupting plays for the defensive side that he'll do that. But I could totally see where Latu, I mean, valid points for Latu as well, where he might not get the snap count necessarily, but the impact plays that could be there if he's able to stop running or get a sack or here or there.
And let me be clear on Latu for a second. Last year, Kwity Paye was benched from the, you know, I call it the IndyCar package, the third down pass rush package. Kwity Paye was benched late in the season. So it became DeForest Buckner, Dayo Odeyingbo, Tyquan Lewis, and Samson Ebukam. That was the 4-man grouping there. I view Latu now in there for probably Lewis, if you're going to take one guy out of that group. That's kind of how I view it. So again, Kwity Paye still in the early downs. Latu on the pass rush downs. That would be my somewhat educated guess on that end. Gino's issued an apology on Twitter.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Elijah caught it. You're fine. The YouTube
good,
chat gets unfiltered, so they got to hear it.
Like Benedict Mathurin attacking the rim. We'd rather rein you in than have to get you to that level. He says, my bad. I was hype and didn't mean to curse.
It's okay. You can be hyped. That's fine.
Have you ever had to dump me?
No, I mean your zipper comment a little earlier maybe pushed the button a little bit. No, I don't recall having to do that. I think I had to do that with Jake one time. I don't think I've had to dump you, Andy, yet or anything like that. I've dumped myself. I know that, but no, I think you currently you have a clean slate, but
sounds like the kiss of death.
Stay golden, pony boy.
Yeah, sounds like the kiss of death on that end.
Yeah.
To Gino's point about Alec Pierce, I made the IndyCar analogy earlier in the week. I don't know if it's a good one or not, but there is an element with Pierce of, I'm a good driver on a bad IndyCar team. Put me on Penske, put me on Ganassi, and see what I can do. Mm-hmm. Elijah, our racing fan, probably appreciates
Nodding
that
in
one.
Approval.
That might be too high praise for Pierce, but I use that analogy to say this. Gardner Minshew and Matt Ryan can't throw the ball from me to Elijah. Anthony Richardson can throw it like Uncle Rico. So,
over the mountains.
That element I think could enhance Pierce. I'm not saying even if A.D. Mitchell beats him out, which A.D. Mitchell showed me a lot more in the spring than certainly Pierce did. I still think Pierce, in that one-trick pony nature to his game, could come into play.
I have a couple of over-unders for wide receivers not named Alec Pierce or A.D. Mitchell. Would you like me to throw those your way and get some thoughts there? I saw these the other day because I mentioned earlier I was looking at Coach of the Year odds because I'm a degenerate every once in a while, but I was just curious where Shane Steichen figured into that.
He's got to be somewhat high up, right?
He's actually very high. Would you like to venture to guess
So you
where
said
he's at?
Eberflus was third or second?
Eberflus was tied for second with Raheem Morris.
Hell, part of me thinks Steichen might be first.
He is not first.
Okay, is he
Who is
fourth?
the? This is a very obvious hint. Who's the big coaching hire around the NFL this year?
Harbaugh?
Yes. Jim Harbaugh is the favorite to win Coach of the Year at plus 900. Raheem Morris and Matt Eberflus tied at plus 1,000. Coming in at third place for your Indianapolis Colts, Shane Steichen tied with DeMeco Ryans at plus 1,400.
It's funny. I remember we've had this debate before with Matt Painter and like Big Ten Coach of the Year. Do you give it to the Chris Collins coach who like no one thought they'd be any good and they barely make the tournament, or like shouldn't Matt Painter be rewarded for Purdue consistently like doing something in that modern day Big Ten teams don't do? Like if the Chiefs go 15-1 this year, or I guess it'd be 16-1. Shouldn't Andy Reid win Coach of the Year?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about value plays. It would be like looking for like an Andy Reid type because he is not in the top 3, top 4. So I have to actually see where he's at because I don't remember seeing him where he's at. Oh boy, he's way down there.
Right. It seems like we always just go with the
Andy Reid is plus 6,000 to win Coach of the Year.
It's just Coach of the Year is
Kevin
falling into like
Stefanski plus 6,000 because
Stefanski was a winner last year.
Yeah,
right?
so I mean, I guess they're saying there's not going to be repeats, but you want some value? I'd say look that way for those guys because that's right there with them. But yeah, very interesting that it is kind of guys that maybe just fell short of the playoffs or were in the playoffs a little bit last year, but or it's Jim Harbaugh obviously, but they obviously odds wise they're looking that way for you guys. Okay, Colts over unders real quick. There's Michael Pittman Jr. odds, and there are Josh Downs odds. Which would you like first?
Give me the Downs.
Okay, Josh Downs is over under.
Now, do you have his rookie stats? It's probably good to like go off of that too.
I do not have
them
in front of me.
Let me dial those up.
Okay, so Josh Downs is over under for regular season receptions. Is that over under 55.5 catches?
He had 68 as a rookie.
So that seems like pretty solid money right there. I mean, that seems like you hammer the over right there.
Yeah, think about these over unders. It's like you're just one injury away.
Mm-hmm.
And Downs played every game last season. Now remember, he had that knee injury. It kind of flared up in November, so maybe wasn't his full self. He was 68 for 771 receiving yards.
Okay, well,
I feel like Downs is such a forgotten guy.
If you're going that route, then I would say you're probably hitting the over for the receiving yards on the season because that's at 600.5. So if you hit 68 receptions last year, you better be hammering the over for wide receiver yards there, I would say.
I'm just so nervous. If the guy misses 1 month, then you're screwed.
And he had how many touchdowns last year?
Couldn't have had many. 2, 3.
Okay. Yeah, that is one I wouldn't touch necessarily. The receiving touchdowns is over under 2.5.
2. I do like Downs a lot.
2.5 for Josh Downs there. Michael Pittman Jr., though, on the other hand, if you want to dial his numbers up. Over under receptions, 90.5 for Michael Pittman Jr. I think if you're going to be the top wide receiver and if you have a healthy Anthony Richardson, that should hit pretty easily. And then, so 90.5 for Michael Pittman Jr. I'd say, where do you feel that fall? I feel like that's...
Yeah, I mean, he's been so durable.
That should be
probably still go the over there. But, I think a reason why you're seeing all these numbers a little bit smaller than what they did last year, Pittman was over 100 catches, is because, A.D. Mitchell's going to eat somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But it's not like Alec Pierce produced.
No. And then, again, 90.5 touchdowns, or 90.5 receptions, receiving yards is at 975.5. So, again, if you're going off of last season's performance, you would think that he was going to clear 1,000 yards relatively easily if he has 90.5 receptions. So I would say hammer the over there. And then over under receiving touchdowns on the season, 4.5.
If you missed it, we will re-rack one final time. That Caitlin Clark interview, I know our 8 o'clock hour audience didn't get a chance to hear it yesterday. So for those commuting right now, we'll play that coming up here in about 10 or 15 minutes. One audio clip I did want to play, Mark, from yesterday was with Lynn Dunn, who we had on in the 9:30 segment. And, it's kind of funny how the game played out. We obviously did this interview with Lynn Dunn prior to the game, but the WNBA trade deadline is not until August 20th. So part of me was like, why even ask a question to her on that end? But right now, Mark, given the Olympic break that's upcoming, which is about a month long, they only have 5 games left until the Olympic break. So you have a decent idea of like what your team is at this point of the season. Fever past the midway point. all of that. So I wanted to ask Lynn, like skill set wise, what would they be looking for from a acquisition standpoint at the trade deadline? Her answer surprised me a bit.
Well, I'm always looking for somebody to knock down another three-point shot. You know, anybody that can score. I'm always interested in points. So that gets my attention. The key for us, too, down the stretch here is to get healthy, stay healthy. And I think when you look at some of the other teams that are struggling, it's because they've just endured a bunch of injuries. So far, we've been pretty lucky. We just need to stay healthy.
I think I know where you're going here, but you would say...
I mean, isn't defense the issue?
I was going to say,
like,
don't you have enough shooting at this point?
I get that that's the boring answer, but that's the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess a little bit of turnovers leading to poor defense, but just in general, their inability to defend at an acceptable level has been the constant theme through the first 20-25 games. And again, go back to what Christy Side said to us on opening day. I mean, we had her on that opening day. For you to be a playoff team this season, what has to change? And she didn't hesitate. Defense, defense, defense. So there's a little bit of like, with a player like Caitlin Clark, who admittedly to us, and you'll hear it if you missed the interview, said defense has been the biggest challenge for her at the WNBA level. Is there like this, no, we need to cater to Caitlin's strengths as much as possible, put as much shooting around her. We're going to be this incredibly gifted offensive team and score, 95, 100 every night. Or do you try to help her out where she struggles defensively? You try to put more defense around her because, again, yesterday the Mystics probably could have beat the Wizards yesterday.
Probably.
A Mystics team without 3 double-digit scores, they come into your building and put up whatever the final number was, 89, something like that. I mean, it's I would vote defense more than I'd vote 3-point shooting.
Yeah,
and I get that's boring, but I think the numbers would back that up.
But I mean, the NBA team in the same building had the same issue where they can't play defense, and they were hoping and praying that they could just outscore people, and that got them to the Eastern Conference Finals. But you also kind of knew heading into the playoffs that we need to shoot lights out to be able to hang out, to be able to beat these teams. And I feel like that's the same issue that the Fever have, where they're just kind of, we need to outscore everybody. We can't defend a lick, and we need to try to control turning the ball over. And that's not really a recipe for success long term. I think, I'm with you. They need help defensively. I don't know who's out there, WNBA trade deadline wise, that could be, who's considered an elite defender that could be available via trade. But by all means, get better defensively. And I think that will help Caitlin Clark in the long run, because if all of a sudden, you've got a bit of a cushion because you're locking down the opponent, you can start jacking down some threes and, separating yourself from the lead a little bit. So help on the defensive side, please.
No team forces fewer turnovers in the league than the Fever, and only one team has allowed more points per game this year than the Fever. So I think that tells you everything you need to know on that.
Less offense, more defense, please.
We will hit some Caitlin Clark action. If you missed that interview, we'll do that coming up here on the other side. We'll play it one final time for you. With that, before it all, let's go ahead and hit a morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. Season tickets are on sale now. Order by August 1st for your shot at the best seats in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
Well, we just talked about the Fever. Let's keep talking about a tough 89-84 loss to the Washington Mystics at Gainbridge yesterday. Kevin crying in the stands. I imagine Rosie was trying to comfort him a little bit there.
Crying over no, we cannot have one more piece of candy.
Dad, we can get another Dippin' Dots. It's
we
fine.
Cannot.
Don't worry about it.
No, I can't jump over 2 sections to catch that T-shirt that they just threw.
Outside of Caitlin Clark, a very odd performance overall, I'd say, from the Fever. Like I said, flashbacks of early season Fever games for me. 21 turnovers in the game. Caitlin Clark, the first WNBA player to have 29 points, 13 assists, 5 steals, 5 rebounds, and 5 3-pointers, but the turnovers were key, and she talked about it after the game.
I think not being on the same page. I think there was a lot where they were very self-inflicted. Passing it to the other team or not being on the same page. And it's really hard to win basketball games when you have 23 turnovers, and especially when they lead to 23 points, and then also offensive rebounding. They had 13 points on their second chance points. We had 4. I think we gave up 10 boards, and we got 2. So those 2 combined together, plus our not very great defense, makes it really tough. But like I said, you got to give us a little bit of credit. We really fought and we battled and we didn't give up. But in this league, that's still going to be really hard to overcome.
I will say that place was rocking during the comeback in the fourth quarter. It was electric. in there. But as Caitlin pointed out very accurately, way too much of a mountain to climb there. 8 turnovers in the first quarter. Again, I feel like Matt Painter back during that Purdue season of like, if we can just get out of our own way offensively.
Yeah.
They shot it over 50% from the floor. It's just get out of your own way offensively because, again, you're bad enough defensively. You don't need turnovers walking into transition points.
And I don't want to sound like a hater here because I'm pulling for the Fever, but like even on that fourth quarter comeback, I didn't think they were going to win because I was like, they've just shot themselves in the foot so many times.
Yeah,
it just didn't seem like they were going to be able to pull it off, and obviously they didn't. But I even when they cut it down to, I think, 2 or 3 points, it's like something's going to happen here where they're not going to close it out.
Well, Washington, she's right. Washington got to every loose ball, it seemed like.
Oh, yeah, everyone.
As well. So, quick turnaround. Diana Taurasi was banged up last night, did not play for the Mercury. They have won 3 in a row, though. Fever, Mercury, that is an Ion game coming up tomorrow. I feel like it's a periodic table, Ion. 7:30 tip inside of Gainbridge Field. That's, again, the last home game until that month-long Olympic break for the Fever. Speaking of the Olympics, last night, Team USA, it was ugly early, but then the defensive, well, honestly, the defense was there all game long. 86-72. They beat Canada in a game that'll be labeled as an exhibition game. I think it was a little bit more intense than just calling it that. I say this with all seriousness. Tyrese Halliburton guarded from his opening minutes on the floor, forcing a jump ball. 4 steals for him. He had the best plus-minus of anybody on the team. So second-team point guard, 6 assists, no turnovers. And obviously with this depth on Team USA, when your second unit looks like Tatum, Edwards, Halliburton, it's a pretty good bench group, right, to throw out there.
Not too shabby.
They changed certainly the energy level for Team USA. They got control of that game, and they held on the rest of the way. Anthony Edwards, 13. Steph Curry had 12. Drew Holiday, 11. Anthony Davis, 10. Andrew Nembhard, 0 for 5 for Team Canada. 16 minutes off the bench for him. Next up for Team USA, they now go to Abu Dhabi for some of these exhibition games. They'll take on Australia coming up on Monday.
Don't look now, Kev, but here come the Cubbies.
God, makes me want to puke.
4-0 winners against the Orioles last night. That's 5 out of their last 6 in the W category. They're looking pretty solid. The Bats are waking up solid there. The Rockies took care of the Reds 6-5. Ellie De La Cruz, the only bright spot on that Reds roster at the moment. Pirates got blanked by the Brewers 9-0. Royals beat the Cardinals 8-5. We're happy to see that. White Sox played a doubleheader against the Twins. Did they? Wait, yeah. I swear I saw 2 games. Maybe it was the same one.
Cardinals had a doubleheader, didn't they? Yeah, and I think White Sox did play a doubleheader.
Yeah, the White Sox did play a doubleheader.
Wasn't Jake there?
Yes, he was. Because I was like, where are you today? And he sent a picture of guaranteed rate field. I'm like, you took a PTO day to watch the White Sox play?
Did they pay him to come?
I don't know.
It's a yearly tradition for him, so, you know.
I told him to try the campfire milkshake because that's all the rage over there. It's like a $15 milkshake that's got like s'mores in it and everything like that.
Elijah, I hate to intrude on the personal life, but didn't Jake hit on your girlfriend at one point?
Oh, he slid into her DMs.
We've moved past that now. We're good. We're on the. We're fine. Yeah.
He DM'd her on Facebook.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep. Yes, that's true.
I think
Did he poke her on Facebook? Is that still a thing?
I think he poked and waved. I think he poked and waved.
Oh God. You usually want to wave first.
Shannon
and then
know
poke.
about this?
I'm not sure. You'd have to ask him about that. I don't know.
that was a little bit. I remember when that happened. I was like, I think we're pushing the boundaries here of like intern.
It still comes up
worker
sometimes.
relationship here.
My girlfriend gets a big kick out of the fact that
I'll
she was
admit,
the
I
center
was
of
sweating
an
a little
in-joke for
bit
a
during
while.
that. I thought of can I excuse myself to the bathroom here?
Can you still poke people on Facebook? I feel like that went out.
Yes, you can. My uncle does it all the time.
Oh God,
jeez, boy.
Again, wave then poke, not the other way around.
Shamelessly moving on from that, Pacers Summer League, their debut tomorrow night. You saw the team in attendance last night to watch Tyrese Halliburton and Andrew Nembhard, 8 o'clock from Summer League NBA TV for their first couple games out there. We'll see how long the stay is for Jarris Walker, Ben Shepherd, etc. Team USA Soccer, they fired the coach. Berhalter's out.
Get out.
Does that mean they're now saved? They're good?
No, I think they still need to get obviously a quality manager, but
you hire Indy 11's coach, right?
Yeah.
They're the hot team.
The name I keep hearing is Jurgen Klopp. So, keep your ears to the ground on that one.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Sources right there from Mark
No,
Dykton.
0 sources, just what Twitter tells me.
On that, and looking forward to IndyCar this weekend, doubleheader. Speaking of doubleheaders, speaking of Jake Query, from Iowa, always great entertainment around the Hy-Vee races and a very short oval there. It is a crowded track there in Iowa. First oval since the 500. It'll be a night race Saturday night and then a nooner on Sunday for that. All right, on the other side, if you missed it, reward our 8 o'clock audience. Had a lot of asks. We played it yesterday in the 7 o'clock hour and the 9 o'clock hour. We'll do it one final time. Caitlin Clark joins us.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Well, we don't do this often, but we got to spread the wealth to each hour of the show, and certainly the numbers and the interest would indicate a lot of people want to hear from Caitlin Clark. Yesterday, we played our interview with her in the 7 o'clock hour. We also did it in the 9 o'clock hour. We've got a busy audience, though, around 8:30 or so, making that commute. So one final time here, we'll play this Caitlin Clark interview from earlier in the week.
Welcome back. This is the Wake Up Call here on 93.5, 107.5. The Fan, Kevin Bowen, alongside Andy Swindy. Our next guest, she joins us here live at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. And Caitlin Clark, I want to make sure I have this right, all right? Luke Combs fan, is that
That's
check?
correct.
A little High School Musical soundtrack.
I love it. You do your research.
I dabble in some golf.
I dabble in some golf.
Okay.
Haven't played a lot this summer, obviously. Been a little bit busier than most summers, but would love to play more.
Totally understandable. Lastly, I believe I saw on social media, and you're talking to a father of a 4-year-old, soon-to-be 2-year-old, and soon-to-be 1-year-old. Did you say elite babysitter? Did I see this correctly?
I'm a good babysitter. You can ask Katie Lou because she's got a little daughter. She's almost 1 now, so
I saw
she
the
trusts
picture.
me with her. So
now I don't want to throw teammates
I'm
under
not
the bus.
signing up for everybody's
I know.
children, but
I was about to say I need somebody.
I was like, can we add her to the list? Because elite
No.
babysitters are nothing to scoff at here. don't want to throw any teammates under the bus. The teammate that you would least like to babysit. Who would be the one you're like?
Probably
boy.
Melissa Smith, yeah.
I was thinking Erica Wheeler.
Nah, Eda would be good. She takes care of Katie Lou's baby when she comes with us on the road.
I was thinking too much energy.
Yeah,
I was like,
that too.
Gotta get the kids to bed on time.
Yeah, she keeps them up all night hanging out with them because she loves them so much.
Certainly.
I tell you, I have no idea where to go from there. I mean, I got to be honest. I didn't know you were starting with the babysitter.
Straight down.
Right to the babysitter thing.
With.
Well, Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us. These first few months for you, it's been, wow, what a change, from college and everything you did at Iowa and now to the Indiana Fever. You ever sit back and just kind of look around and say, boy, the last few months have been quite something in my life?
Yeah, it's been really just insane, and honestly haven't had a ton of time to just sit back and really think about it and reflect, and I think that'll be something for me once this off season comes around, to really try to soak in everything that's happened over the course of the last year. Obviously, it's been very life-changing and a lot of fun for myself. A lot of cool memories that I've been able to share with my family and my friends and my teammates, whether it was at Iowa and now here in the WNBA and moving to a new city. There's been a lot of change, but there's also been a lot of fun. So I've enjoyed it, but I definitely wish I could go back in time and kind of live it all again from a different perspective of not actually being in it, but just watching from bird's eye view. But I guess I will just sit back and reflect.
Who has helped you deal with the fame that you've kind of had the last few years?
I mean, I don't think there's anybody specifically. I think the people I surround myself with are people that keep me grounded every single day, whether that's my family, whether that's my teammates at Iowa, whether it's the people here. They don't treat me any different than they did when I first arrived on campus at the University of Iowa. And only, some people knew me, obviously, in the state of Iowa. I was kind of a big deal, but nationally, not well known at all. And as my career kind of unfolded, those people were the ones that, never changed and always, through the ups and downs were there for me. So I think it's just the small. I love it. International basketball is so different, especially from the college game. I think obviously the WNBA is much more similar to the international game, but the international game is just way different. It's ref different. It's played different. The fans, it's just loud in there all the time. You play they allow air horns in there. It's crazy.
You see some wild scenes.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch our men's team too. I think the men's game is the way basketball has evolved, especially on the men's side, and it's going to continue to evolve on the women's side. But on the men's side, nothing's going to be easy. Obviously our team is incredible, and I assume they'll win gold, but there's just so much talent across the board, and you see it in the NBA, and then they go play for their countries, so it'll be cool.
Caitlin Clark with us here as we're hanging out in Gamebridge getting ready for today's game. Losing early on. You guys lost some games early on. You obviously come from a very winning program there at Iowa. You seem to be someone who doesn't take losing very well. Most of the greats don't. Early on, when you guys things not going your way, you mentioned only a couple weeks to really get ready for this season. How did you take that when the losing was happening?
Yeah, it was definitely tough, but I think just like you want to say, like, you want to keep a great perspective and keep great energy, and I think we actually did a really great job of that. And once we actually had some time to rest and like actually get in the gym and practice, you saw such a much better product on the court. And I think you're continuing to see that get better and better as we've had time to practice, as our schedule slowed down a little bit. I think we started 1-8, and since then we've actually been pretty good. We've had some great wins over the last week, whether it was Phoenix, whether it was Liberty. And then we have, obviously Washington coming up. That's one that we really need to win here on our home court. You really need to execute on your home court and win those. But yeah, I mean, I think you have seen us grow so much from the beginning of the season. And for myself, it seems like night and day. And we're really only at the halfway point. So I think there's still just so much more room for us to continue to get better.
She's Caitlin Clark, and she's with us here again, live from Gamebridge Fieldhouse. We have Lynn Dunn on the show weekly, and obviously the one and only Lynn Dunn. And I recall her telling us back, this was earlier this year, when she found out you were declaring, she fell off the couch, which was certainly an image that, is sticking right here. I'm like, boy, we worry about 911 here.
Literally.
When you found out that the Fever got the number 1 pick, what was your reaction?
I was definitely excited. Yeah, they were probably up there with some of the top, organizations and franchises that I would have wanted to go to.
Did it impact your decision at all?
For sure. Yeah. I think being able to come to a place that really values women's basketball, but also is in the Midwest and close to where I'm from, and just kind of makes everything a little bit easier for me. And then, I really wanted to play with Aaliyah. That doesn't hurt either. And there's just great talent on this team. But that wasn't obviously the only reason I left. At the same time, it was time for me to end my college career. There was really nothing left for me to do at the University of Iowa. I'm not sure it could have gotten any better for us. I think it could have only gone down. But no, I mean, it seemed like kind of all the stars aligned.
All right, as we wrap up here, and again, it's probably a stupid question because Lord knows it's not like you've had a bunch of downtime here in Indy. Most Indy thing you have done so far, or maybe the better question is probably maybe the most Indy thing you would like to do when you do get a little bit more downtime.
I went to Zubilation, so that was a big deal. I know that's a big fundraiser here. So I've been to the zoo. Went to St. Elmo's. It's a big deal.
Sure.
Went to an Indians baseball game. So I've done a few things.
Dabble in the cocktail sauce?
Yes. I'm not.
Okay.
I mean, it's tough. I can do it, but it's not something I want to sign up for every single time I go there.
Not a pregame meal by any means.
But yeah, I mean, trying all the new restaurants. Obviously, great steakhouses here in Indianapolis. That's what I love. So that's a good thing about the city.
Well, Caitlin, thank you. As again the father of a young daughter, thank you for just being a role model, handling all the chaos like you've handled it so well. I think I speak for a lot of people in Indy, and that we're lucky to have you. We hope you've enjoyed your stay so far, and hope you call it home for a long, long time. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Caitlin Clark right here on the Wake Up Call.
Yeah, and again, a big thank you to Caitlin Clark for that earlier in the week. For any reason anybody's missed that is on our podcast page. And Mark Dykton, safe to say there's some interest in
Just
people listening to Caitlin Clark. And obviously the game was pretty poor outside of Clark yesterday. That stat line, rather amazing from her. I did enjoy being out there yesterday. And it is pretty cool to see just how much this summer buzz is there. I mean, you're kind of driving downtown yesterday, and it's like, wow. I mean, there's just throngs of people headed into Gamebridge Fieldhouse for that noon tip there. And Clark has been very, very good, really, since I think she got that news, frankly, about the Olympic team. I think there's an element of the Michael Jordan meme of I took that personally, and I don't need to necessarily, give a 10 rating on the 1 to 10 piss scale, but just know that it's motivated me. And I think you've seen that with her play here as of late.
As far as celebrity status, how high on the ranking was she for you to interview?
Oh, yeah.
Is there any bigger celebrity status person that you've, been in front of for an interview?
Yeah, it's a great question.
I know we interviewed Adam Silver and everything like that, but I'm like, nationally, Caitlin Clark has got to be pretty high up there, if not the top spot.
I'd say it's the biggest, honestly. Because I thought about that. You mentioned Silver.
Bob Costas on before.
Yeah, Costas. By the way, trying to get Bob Costas on for next week, by the way. Sounds like that could happen. I've been fortunate to have, one-on-one, a helicopter ride up to South Bend or a plane ride up to South Bend. It's supposed to be a helicopter. Weather changes to a plane ride with Andrew Luck and small setting, interviewed Jim Irsay after his arrest back in about a decade ago. I mean, like, there's been some, like, nervous moments. I was pretty darn nervous for that Clark interview, if I'm going to be fully honest. Just the fame. And, you know, I half joking, half serious. Like, literally, she did that interview around, I think the ESPYs are they tonight, by the way? They are tonight?
I don't know.
I
always thought they were. I always thought they were the.
That's all they're talking about on ESPN radio when I drove in.
Well, then it's got to be tonight.
I always thought they were the Wednesday after the MLB All-Star game. I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, it feels like there's sometime in mid-July. Nonetheless, she sandwiched, you know, us around the ESPYs and a 20-person meeting with Nike. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Andy Sweeney and I? She's probably thinking, what the hell in the world?
The ESPYs are tonight, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Who would know?
Gosh, unbelievable. Yeah, so Caitlin Clark is going to get some award, I would assume, for the ESPYs on that end. But yeah, I mean, I was legitimately nervous for it, and really glad she did it. And hopefully this will lead to a few more, you know, local-ish interviews. And, you know, you and I have talked about this, Mark. It's not like she's really done anything national from an interview standpoint. I mean, if you look at it, she did McAfee right after she got drafted, and kind of her first, I think that was her first day maybe here in Indy. But, you know, outside of that, it's just been the press conferences. So greatly appreciate, you know, the Fever and Ryan Stevens for helping us out on that end. And I just think people genuinely enjoy hearing her answers because, you know, people have asked me, like, you know, was she robotic? I'm like, no. I mean, she was friendly. And then if you listen to her answers, it's not like Andy and I asked her that many different questions than what she has gotten before. But, you know, again, our audience has not, you know, maybe heard her for 9 straight minutes unless you're watching the press conferences. Were any of those answers short?
No, I find.
Were any of those answers 15 seconds? Did you listen to that and think, man, she wants no part of doing this interview?
No, I find all of her answers very thoughtful and very, like, thought-provoking and everything like that. I think she seemed like she was interested by all the questions, and she answered them as best she could with, you know, what she had going on. But yeah, I thought it was a great interview and hopefully leads to more things down the line. How many donuts did you and Andy consume yesterday,
I only
by the way?
ate one. Yeah, I only ate one. Yep, but boy, the waistline feels like I ate a few more than one.
Well, then you snacked out at the game.
No, I tried to behave. You know, part of me thought Rosie wouldn't eat it. She got the king size Reese's, so the 4 of them. You know, so 8 Reese's combined with her and her niece. But, you know, part of me thought they won't eat all 8, right?
Yeah, right.
I would hope I could at least get 2 of them, and I couldn't.
They got all 8 of them.
Her cousin's lunch was cotton candy and the 4 Reese's, and Rosie's lunch was a bag of the cheddar sour cream Ruffles, which I think is a great choice.
That is solid.
I feel like I've raised her well. And then 4 Reese's as well. That was the lunches for those.
I'm sure Maddie was applauding you from afar. Dad of the year.
Right.
Good lunch decision.
Yeah. Sorry, did you want me to go grab the nachos?
Yeah.
Did you want me to grab the hot dog for them?
Chick-fil-A is right there is what she would have told you.
Yeah,
probably.
I guess you were right on that end. All right, 10 minutes. Christian Watford, he is the GM of the IU TBT team. Those games going to be played at Hinkle Fieldhouse coming up next week. We'll chat with Christian Watford here in about 10. Pat Boylan joins us at 9:30. Good Thursday morning to you, Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton, Elijah Roberson here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Christian Watford and a few. Again, he is the GM of IU's TBT team coming up next week over at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Can be fun Friday night. I think their games bleed into the weekend as well. Butler's got a team. Shelvin Matt going to join us next week. So we'll chat with certainly a man that a lot of IU people have fond memories of here in a few. We had John hanging in. Is that right? John, I want to talk a little. John, you got some thoughts on this magical run for Indy 11?
Guys, this is a fantastic time for soccer in Indiana. I mean, I think I get the award for the farthest caller today. I'm calling from London.
Whoa,
subway platform,
John.
So I'm here for you guys.
Tell us more. You are a soccer fan if you live in London.
I don't live there, but I live in Indianapolis. I'm just here on vacation. But I couldn't wait for Soccer Saturday. Greg Raystroff to talk about this. I mean, come on.
Well, John, can you explain for our audience out there, and feel free to just tell me I'm an idiot, some soccer people that I've chatted with have compared Indy 11 making the semifinals of this U.S. Open Cup. This would be like a 13 seed in the NCAA tournament, beating a 4, getting on a run like that. Is that comparable in any way, shape, or form? How can you explain it for us?
I mean, I think just for the fact that it's the USL versus the MLS right now, like the 13 versus a 4 might be even generous for how big this is, especially for the Indy 11 right now. I mean, it's no secret that they're kind of fighting for their lives right now. But to see them go up against a MLS team that they're getting ready to send off all kinds of players over to Europe and South America for huge contracts. I mean, they've got guys going to Chelsea. They just had a player come back from the Georgian national team playing in the Euros. And to see our boys in blue come back that strong and to be a defensive nightmare for them. I mean, the possession it was basically 2-3 on possession and in Atlanta's favor, but somehow Indy's defense just held it together.
Godspeed to you from London. I should probably turn on my mic. John, Godspeed to you from London. You might be listener of the year for calling in from London. We're up against it. We appreciate the call, sir. Safe travels.
Have a pint.
Thanks, guys.
Have a pint. Big Ben, Trafalgar Square, Admiralty Pub, I believe we went to with J&B.
Yeah.
It does sound like a really cool story. And I know I joked a little bit of it yesterday about the movie, of here's the plucky Indy 11 when they're told that their stadium plan isn't good enough and they don't have the money to make the MLS bid. Now all of a sudden here comes all this winning. It is a pretty cool story.
I could see the Disney movie starring Mark Wahlberg now being made.
Oh, how about Greg Rakestraw?
Oh, there you go. That could be. Wasn't Mark Wahlberg in the Philadelphia Eagles thing, the walk-on thing? That's where that came from.
That sounds right. Speaking of movies, you could probably write one about the Watch Shot. Christian Watford, he joins us next.
The Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Here comes Riddell Jones. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Riddell all the way outside to Watford. 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Christian Watford with a 3! And the Hoosiers have knocked off the #1 ranked Kentucky Wildcats! Unbelievable! This place is a madhouse. They've stormed the floor. 20 points for Watford, and another 3-pointer on the day is 4th of the afternoon, and it wins it for Indiana. Unbelievable.
Boy, I wonder if Christian Watford's ever heard that.
Maybe once or twice.
Yeah, leading back into a radio interview. A lot to get to with the man that obviously is the name for the Watt Shot here on this segment as we look ahead to IU and their TBT run, the GM of the TBT coming up here next weekend. Christian, this might be the dad in me. I was underneath the opposite basket when that shot occurred. I'm always worried about, could you breathe at the bottom of that pile?
Man, actually, I couldn't. Like, that was the scariest part of the whole thing. When everybody started getting on me, I could kind of feel my lungs kind of like my ribs kind of caving in a little bit. I had to tell one of my teammates to start throwing people off of me, and I was able to get some breathing room.
Gosh, that's
horrifying.
Yeah, that sounds horrifying.
No, it was scary for a second.
Certainly an iconic moment. We appreciate the time here on this Thursday morning. Again, you got alumni teams, Indiana, Butler, Purdue, Valpo even, going to participate in that TBT, the Butler Regional. Again, that's next weekend, July 19th through the 23rd. And again, Christian Watford, the GM for the IU team. All right, walk us through your GM duties, Christian. You got a mix of some IU guys, some players, not affiliated with Indiana. What was this like in piecing together the squad that'll compete next weekend at Hinkle?
Man, it was tough, man. We had you got a lot of guys, man, a lot of guys doing a lot of different things. Guys trying to connect with guys that's still playing overseas in different time zones. It's been a process, man, but it's something we've been wanting to do. So I've talked about it for a couple of years now, and we finally got enough guys healthy. We still got some guys that's hurt that we wanted to be a part of the team that was hurt, but we were able to get a lot of guys and stuff like that. So here we are.
Christian, how did you get involved with TBT? How did that come about?
It's just, I've always played in TBT. I made it to the championship game, playing with different teams and stuff. And I just always felt like we had the personnel to have this type of team. But it's just something we've been wanting to do. Seeing it every summer. Like, alumni teams are big in TBT now, so we wanted to be a part of that, especially with the regions being in Indy. We just wanted to be able to, give something back to the fans. Come together as an alumni. And it's always fun when you be around your guys and stuff like that. And I know we're going to have a lot of support, a lot of ex-Hoosiers coming out to support us. So it's going to be fun.
So Christian Watford joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. For fans who haven't attended the TBT, what's the most exciting part about the TBT tournament?
The most exciting part about the TBT tournament, besides, watching some of your favorite players that you, watched in college, will probably be just the Elam ending, which is, it's at the end of the game, the last 4 minutes. When you get to 4 minutes on the clock shuts off. They put, the target score, which will probably be like 7 or 9 points, above what the scores are. And it's always just fireworks, man, just trying to get those last few buckets, man. It's always crazy.
I love the Elam ending. We've had Nick Elam, the Ball State professor, on before, who came up with it. I think it honestly is a great thing for the TBT. Again, Christian Watford, that voice. Yep. He is the GM of the IU team. Of course, the $1 million prize up for grabs. You can get your tickets now at thetournament.com, thetournament.com/tickets. Again, games at Hinkle starting up next week. Christian, for you fans in general that, haven't maybe kept up to date with where you're at right now life-wise, could you fill us in on, basketball career and a little bit of post-b-ball career as well?
Oh, well, man, married with 2 kids now, man, living in Birmingham, Alabama. Still involved around the game. I do a lot of stuff with my younger brother, who's just recently, a couple of days ago, signed his qualifying offer with the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm still around the game, still love it, still, supporting Hoosiers, do a little podcast and stuff, doing during the Big Ten season and stuff like that, man. So I'm still involved, still, feeding that competitive edge, and, everything's been good.
All right, so you are wearing the GM hat. Late game, next week at Hinkle, who's the ball going to? Part of me looks at this roster and thinks Devontae Green never saw a shot he didn't like. Yogi, Troy Williams, Jordan Holes. Who are we looking to late in games for this IU team?
Man, we're probably looking at Yogi, man. Yogi, we're gonna have Yogi. We're gonna have Jawan Morgan. I think those gonna be our two guys. We got a lot of those guys haven't played TBT experience, so I really wanted to get. That's why we got a lot of other guys, the guys that's had some TBT experience, because it's different. TBT is high level, bro. It's not like just like a pro-am where guys just out there. These guys are either, a lot of ex-NBA players playing in TBT, a lot of EuroLeague guys playing in TBT. It's a high level, so we look forward to it. But I think, down the stretch, we're going to just try to put the ball in Yogi's hand and let him make the right play.
Probably a smart decision.
Yeah, not too shabby. Again, Christian Watford joining us on the Payless Liquors Hotline. You said you have a podcast, you follow the Hoosiers. What have been your thoughts on IU basketball, and what are your thoughts heading into the upcoming season?
I feel good about going into the next season. We kind of had like a little disappointing season this past season, but it was a part of the growth. I feel like Woody now has the right personnel in there that we need to really be successful. So I'm excited, man. I'll probably when I go to Bloomington, I got to go down there probably next week, because we got like a mini camp going on out there. Just getting ready for TBT and stuff like that. So I'll probably see practices and just get a better look and a better feel of what we're capable of this year.
What's your favorite spot in Bloomington to pull up at back in the day? Favorite restaurant, favorite bar?
Restaurant favorite bar probably Buffalo's, and shout out to Buffalo's too, man, because they kind of sponsoring us, helping us out a little bit as far as the TBT and stuff, along with with some more sponsors as well.
I can get behind a little Buffalo's. We actually did a radio show there back in the day when I was at IU. Christian Watford here on the Payless Liquors Hotline with us. Christian, your favorite non-Watt shot memory from your 4 years in Bloomington?
Favorite non-Watt shot memory? That's tough, man. I can. It's a lot of memories, obviously, but I can. One of my favorite memories, bro, is a lot of people don't realize. It's like a moment where we realized that the tides were changing. I would say on the road, playing North Carolina State, how we was able to go and win that game. The locker room after that game, it was just a different feeling around in the locker room, and I think that was one of the underrated biggest moments, just because we could just tell the tides were turning as far as our style of play. We were starting to win. We were actually starting to believe we could win. So it's that's probably a big monumental moment in my IU career.
Honestly, a game that I think of, my years overlap 3 of your 4, and I know you guys lost this game. You were exceptional, if my memory is correct, in this game. I thought that Sweet 16 game against Kentucky in the Georgia Dome, I thought that was one of the most well-played basketball games. Again, I know you guys lost, but, man, you look at the talent Kentucky had, obviously what you guys had. I feel like that's a game that, I get why fans don't want to talk about it because you guys lost the game. But I thought that was one of the better games that I had seen, frankly, in the NCAA tournament.
No doubt about it. It was a fun game as well. High level. A lot of pros on the court, a lot of guys. It was just high level. It was one of those playing UK around that time was just it's like a boxing match. They say styles make fights. I think our style, the way we played, gave them a lot of trouble. We was one of their few losses that year. When we always felt as a team, if we got past them again, we could have a chance to raise a banner up. Obviously, they won that game and winning won. But we always felt like we were the only team that could really match up with them, as far as their style of play, their athleticism, their speed, and we matched up with them well. But unfortunately, we just gave them too many free throws. I think if you go back and look at the free throws in that game, I think they probably shot 20 plus more free throws than we did.
Yeah, I think Victor fouled out. That was kind of a big moment in the game, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So, yeah, that was definitely that.
Christian Watford joining us for a few more minutes on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Christian, your favorite opposing arena to play in, and your least favorite. Which would those be?
Favorite? My favorite is probably going to Michigan State. I love playing in East Lansing. Least favorite would probably be just, I don't know, Penn State or somewhere like that, like just somewhere where it's not a lot of fans. It's a huge arena. It's cold.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, it's awful just because it just don't be nobody in there really. So you got to create your own energy. It's just one of those types of arenas.
I assume the default answer would have been Mackey, but obviously, Penn State needs to pay the electric bill. It sounds like they need to get the heating.
Mackey was it was different, but it was kind of fun playing in Mackey sometimes. You go in there and get a win. It's fun playing at Mackey.
Well, Christian, thank you for the time here on this Thursday morning. I know you've been asked some form of this a million times. We'll throw it 1,000,001 your way. I went back and watched the replay of the watch shot during the break before we had you on. You're sprinting your ass off knowing that, there's an opportunity that Verdell Jones is going to find the old trailer there. How much did you think or believe that ball was coming back to you?
Well, it was actually a play. And, once I realized that Cody set the screen, he kind of set the screen wrong, but it worked. Once I realized that Verdell had some movement and could get a little, had some space to get downhill, I started running. Obviously picked up the pace, but it's a read that we always have. We drill that play, you know what I'm saying? So, I was screaming his name, hoping he heard me, hoping he threw it back to me, and thank God he did.
We're going to say a lot of IU fans certainly smiling at that thought. Well, Christian, thanks for the time, man. I enjoyed listening to you and Derek a little bit here during the season. Hope you guys keep that up. Congrats on your successes, and looking forward to seeing you guys play next week at Hinkle.
Man, I appreciate it, man. You guys come out and support us at Hinkle. It's going to be fun. July 19th, I look forward to seeing a packed house. I can't wait.
Thanks, Christian.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
That is the IU legend, Christian Watford. Again, tickets, thetournament.com/tickets. You got alumni teams from Indiana, Butler, Purdue, Valpo, as Christian said, over at Hinkle starting July 19th through the 23rd. He mentioned Yogi Ferrell, of course, Jordan Hulls, Juwan Morgan. I think Sasha Stefanovic, former show guest, going to be on the Purdue team. We'll have Shelvin Mack on the show next week, and they're going to battle for that Hoosier State supremacy and that $1 million prize of the old TBT.
That should be a good time. I mean, it gets lots of viewers and eyes on product every time they do it and everything, so it is a huge hit. So hopefully they have a lot of fun out there, and hopefully to get out there and catch a little bit.
Now,
you
know the first ever winner of the TBT, the college they hailed from?
I don't recall.
Why would I bring that up?
Oh, God. Is it Notre Dame? Ugh.
I can't believe we just had a dude
Is it Bonzie Colson in that roster?
No, I don't think Bonzie was on it. McElharney, Rob Kurz, Torrin Francis, Ryan
Who's your boy?
Ayers.
Who's your all-timer?
Well, Bonzie.
Oh, Bonzie? I thought it was, who was your password? Herringody,
yeah. Yeah, Herringody.
Who's your password for your, what was it? Your password for your...
Herringody 44 was like my password for everything. Goaty 44 was like my password. Honestly, it might still be my password for some stuff, so,
yeah.
You
always get like the forgot password situation. Mine is always like the embarrassing like screen names back when like AOL Instant Messenger was a thing.
My screen name was like Irish 99934. The 34 is for Torrin Francis.
Oh, mine was Rock Solid 12785.
Oh, jeez, dear Lord.
I know that. And looking back on it, that sounds really bad. But it was because I was like, I like The Rock from wrestling, so I'll do Rock Solid. And I'm now thinking back to it, I'm like, that was probably
I'm sure you're really connecting with a lot of the female audience there on AIM.
Probably got on some like mute lists and everything like that.
Boy, a lot of away messages for Mark's followers on AIM.
Why is no one responding to Rock Solid 12785?
Enjoyed that with Christian Watford. Again, I know he gets asked about the watch shot many, many times, but that Sweet 16 game in the Georgia Dome, I don't know how much the IU fans recall from that, but that was a great game. They beat VCU in the round of 32. This is Tom Crean's, fourth season. 6 wins, 9 wins, 12 wins, the first 3. And, Christian pointed out that NC State game in November, that was the ACC Big Ten Challenge. They win that. A couple weeks later, they beat Kentucky. I mean, they beat 3 top 5 teams that season. And then, they had a huge comeback against VCU, and Sheehy hits the huge shot on the baseline to send them to the Sweet 16. And, boy, that was a great game IU and Kentucky, the second meeting that season in the Georgia Dome there. That place was rocking.
Yeah, it was a good time. Good to catch up with Christian. Sounds like he's having, he's got his hands full, 2 kids down in Birmingham, so I'm sure he won't be minding a couple days out in the Indiana area to kind of, get back to his roots of basketball out in Bloomington and then, GM some team. Can you do trades in the TBT? Like if someone's not hauling ass, or is he allowed to move a trade?
I'll be honest, I'm just trying to get past your AIM screen name.
Really? That's what threw you?
Nah, I just
like I said,
I didn't
I'm
have
not
that.
proud of it. I just remember that's what it was. And looking back on it, I'm like, I should have changed that probably. But then AIM kind of died out, and I was like, okay, it's all right now. I think I did eventually change it.
And then
to
your
just like
justification for it sounded good. I don't know if I totally believe you.
Well, that is what it was back in the day. But yeah, it kind of flamed out after. I think I did end up changing it finally to just a more like is like Mark whatever. But
thank you for that.
At first, it was rock
sure
solid.
You should make that your Twitter handle. Should make that your Twitter handle.
Formerly rock solid 12785 on AIM. Come find me. Is AIM still a thing? Probably not.
Unbelievable.
Whatever. It's okay.
Pat Boylan going to join us here in a little over 10 minutes.
Let's ask his AIM screen name.
We'll chat with him. Some Fever-related questions. Pacers as well. Again, Summer League going to begin for the Pacers coming up tomorrow night. That'll be the debut. No Zach Edey last night for Memphis. Memphis did play. So the Grizzlies played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Edey played Monday.
Mm-hmm.
They played all the frontline guys. Tuesday, they sat all their frontline guys. Last night, they actually played a few more of them. Again, Edey was not one of them. I don't know how much of that was related to the ankle that he did turn in that third quarter on Monday night. The Grizzlies will take part now in the Vegas Summer League starting tomorrow. So we'll see if Edey gets any more clock for them here coming up. They've got 4 games, or I think 5 games actually, in the Vegas Summer League. So no Zach Edey, no Cleo Ware last night either?
Nope, he was a DNP as well. Just coach's decision, didn't play, so I don't think there was an injury related to that one, but just didn't play that one. Bronny James got 3 whole points in that game. And
thank you for the Bronny update. Yeah.
Well, that was obviously what their go-to was after that. And Dalton Connect actually looked pretty solid, 20 points from him. But yeah, no Khalil Ware sighting yesterday. Yeah, just as DNP coach's decision.
I was talking to a buddy of mine last night. You're saying that Edey is the favorite for Rookie of the Year? Is that right?
Yeah, because he had a big debut, so now all of a sudden he's the front runner.
Where's Connect on that list?
I don't know. I'd have to pull that up. I'd have to delete my Coach of the Year candidate thing. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sure it's up there. But yeah, I saw Edey made like a strong push all of a sudden for Rookie of the Year status. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and again, it's not like you have a ton of proven college guys that got drafted in the top 10. I think that tends to be where people go for those Rookie of the Years. We'll see how much Donovan Clingan gets consistent run out in Portland with DeAndre Ayton, obviously. Still in the mix there.
Okay, I've got Rookie of the Year odds. Obviously, Edey top of the board at plus 600. Alexander Sarr is plus 700, plus 750. Zachariah Rashard, and then Dalton Connect plus 850. So he's 4th.
Anybody else you recognize in that?
Reed Shepard plus 1,000. I'm trying to see. Donovan Clingan is plus 2,000. There's some value there. Khalil Ware plus 5,000. And I don't see a Bronny James. Oh, Bronny James plus 30,000. Isn't that kind of crazy that Rookie of the Year, like he'll still probably get more, a decent amount of minutes on the Lakers? They are going to
stop. He's not going to play.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Oh, he is absolutely going to play
For the Lakers.
Yes, they're going. And I'm not saying
he's on the team. That's all that matters.
He's not going to earn it, but you don't think that game 1 they're going to want the Bronny James LeBron James tandem so they can have the first father-son.
Maybe for a minute on the floor together, but that dude is not getting consistent.
I'm not saying he's getting consistent minutes, but he is going to get some playing time.
I mean, it's bad enough he's on the Lakers. This is not third-grade baseball where he's all of a sudden going to pitch the whole game because his dad sponsored the team.
It's going to be a live look-in on ESPN one night that, LeBron James and Bronny James, the first father-son duo
together
in NBA
on the court for a minute, sure. Consistent clock, no.
No, he's not getting consistent. No, I'm just saying he is going to see playing time this season for the Lakers.
Playing
time. He's not on a
two-way
two-way contract, as far as I know.
Playing time last night, 20 minutes. That was Tyrese Halliburton off the bench. I think it was the second highest of anybody on Team USA. Again, he had the best plus-minus of anybody. I say this in all seriousness, Tyrese Halliburton guarded. Mm-hmm. Like, he literally defended. Team USA did as well. They held Canada 72 points, 86-72. Pretty ugly start shooting the basketball early on. Halliburton in that second unit came in and really instantly kind of changed the complexion of the game. Anthony Edwards, very good. The T-shirt Anthony Edwards cracks me up.
the T-shirt, Anthony Edwards?
Yeah, he rocks a T-shirt under the jersey.
Mhm.
It's just like
It's like us. We would for a basketball jersey.
Name me one NBA player. Are you allowed to wear a T-shirt underneath your jersey in the NBA?
That's why I don't wear like jerseys because I would probably do that because NBA jerseys you got the sleeveless
I don't think
look.
anybody wants you or I rocking an NBA jersey without sleeves.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That he's pulling an us. He's just like us.
Then
Anthony
you watch
Edwards
him
is just like
literally
us.
dribble the basketball for one time, and he quickly belongs in a different category. Again, Halliburton pushed tempo, 4 steals, 6 assists, no turnovers. He did not score until the final 30 seconds of the game. A steal and a breakaway dunk. Calling it a dunk might be a bit of a stretch. I'm just glad he didn't get hurt. Andrew Nembhard, pretty poor, honestly, for opening night for him. 0 for 5 for Team Canada coming off the bench. But yeah, 86-72 from the U.S. They're now off to Abu Dhabi to take on Australia as their exhibition tour continues before things begin. I will be curious to see if this starting lineup, I assume it'll change with Kevin Durant. He did not play last night. Starters last night, though, it was Steph, Devin Booker, Drew Holiday, LeBron, and Joel Embiid.
So Booker, you think gets tapped on the shoulder?
I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Embiid fouling out with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter was pretty funny to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like, what do you mean?
Yeah, the physicality of the FIBA game, just a little different how that is whistled.
Just a little bit.
All right, Pat Boylan going to join us in a few. Let's lead off that morning check down with Pat on the call yesterday.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. Season tickets are on sale now. Order by August 1st for your shot at the best seats in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
89-84, the Fever on the losing end against the Washington Mystics. A rough one out at Gainbridge yesterday afternoon. Kevin in attendance with Rosie and his niece out there and everything. But Caitlin Clark, solid effort, 29 points, 13 assists. 5 rebounds, 5 steals, 5 3-pointers, first in WNBA history to do that. But you talked about the poor start that the Fever got, only scoring 17 points in the first quarter.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. We definitely started slow, and that's kind of what killed us. Like, you can't – our fourth quarter was great, but you can't play one quarter of basketball and expect to win in this league. So got to find a way to come out and have more energy. They really, punched us in the mouth. I thought they were really good. We struggled a little bit defensively. We struggled to take care of the ball. I think we had 8 turnovers in that first quarter. So hard to win games like that, but we know we can be a lot better.
8 turnovers in the first quarter, 21 overall. Just an ugly performance, not taking care of the ball for the Fever.
I'm going to say the worst quarter of the season, frankly.
Agreed.
Considering the opponent, missing 3 double-digit scores, et cetera, et cetera. Spirited comeback. Clark, outstanding. 29 points, 7 of 14 from the floor. She reached double-digit assists by, the midway point of the third. And I thought, I said this to JMV when I hopped on with him yesterday afternoon, I thought what I liked about Caitlin yesterday, she shot it really well from the 3. 5 and 9's got to be one of her more efficient days from behind the arc all season. She got to the foul line 11 times. That's a big number for her. I kind of like her a little bit more in that attack mode of, when they start cheating up on the, hey, we're going to follow you out there. She's got the ability to, she's so smart, find angles and get to the hole and try to get to the foul line. So
she's getting more comfortable out there for sure. Definitely getting a little more comfortable offensively, which is good to see.
Saw this going out there yesterday. Again, 29 points, 13 assists, 5 boards. She did have 5 turnovers. Not a crazy high number for her, frankly. 5 steals and 3 blocks. First player in WNBA history ever with 25, 10 assists, at least 5 boards, at least 5 steals, and at least 3 blocks.
Yeah, she's been crazy impressive so far. Her and Angel Reese have to be neck and neck for Rookie of the Year honors. Fever, last home game before the Olympic break. That is tomorrow night when they host the Phoenix Mercury. They have 3 games left before the Olympic break.
All right, Major League Baseball from yesterday.
Say it.
No, I'm good. Reds lose 6-5. Cardinals, they lose both of their doubleheader, or their entire doubleheader, I guess. White Sox split a doubleheader, and Mark, I'm gonna be a man of integrity here. Cubs are playing good baseball.
There you go. You threw me a bone. It was very rock solid 12-7-8-5 of you. Cubs won 4-0 against the Orioles. They are. They're down there with the Reds. I think they're 8.5 back in the standing.
The wild card?
Oh, the wild card. I thought you meant the division.
Oh, yeah.
And the wild
Division's
card.
over.
Let's see. Division. Wild card. They are. Oh boy. 3.5 out.
See?
3.5. Same with the Reds.
So the Reds are only 3.5 out too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's crazy how they're there.
Yeah. So but still, above the Cubs and the Reds are the Pirates, the Giants, the Diamondbacks, and the Mets, and you have to leapfrog either the Cardinals or the Padres, the Cardinals, something like that. So they've got a little bit of work to do. Let's just say that.
A couple items of note. Pacers Summer League, and that starts tomorrow. We'll see exactly what it looks like for Jarris Walker and Ben Shepherd out there. Greg Berhalter fired Team USA's head coach. I vote for Rakestraw or Indy 11's manager to take over.
I'd love to see Greg Rakestraw.
What I would like to see. In Iowa for the IndyCar. Busy month of July here for IndyCar. Obviously last week out in mid-Ohio. It's a doubleheader. It will be a night race Saturday night from a very short oval that gets very crowded very quickly. Elijah, some thoughts on the Iowa doubleheader, Saturday night to a Sunday noon race.
So it'll be interesting to see how the hybrid engine works at at Iowa, because at Mid-Ohio they introduced it, and there was a lot of talk about how you're going to conserve energy to use it to your advantage. But Iowa is an oval, and it's a short oval, so
sure.
There's a lot more. We don't know when the drivers are going to actually hit the button to use the hybrid to conserve energy, when they're going to get off of it and use it, because there's a lot of turning at that track. It's like turning like fighter jets loose in a gymnasium. It's that small of a track.
Wait, do that again?
Fighter jets in a gymnasium.
Boy, picturing that is wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm trying to think back to Iowa races I've watched. You sound like Jake Query in turn 2.
Thank you.
Can you
play Steal the Bacon and then the aircraft carrier stuff in there?
I'm putting you on the spot here, Elijah, and I apologize.
You're good.
Can you elementary it down for us, the hybrid?
So the hybrid, it's like a give and take. At certain times, you can make your car a little bit slower to go a little bit faster somewhere else. Does that make sense? It's almost like a different form of push to pass.
So theoretically, there's a Penske joke in there somewhere.
Yes.
Theoretically,
yeah, there is.
You would use it on the straightays,
yeah,
but not use it on the turns?
Well, like I said, we don't really know about ovals yet because we haven't raced it yet, so we'll have to find out. But that's part of it. And then I think you need to look for David Malukas, because he still has that, I think it's his wrist injury, that he had a mountain biking accident. And he's going to be racing, and going straight's one thing, but there's a lot of turning at Iowa because, like I said, it's so small. And it's going to be interesting to see how he holds up, because that wrist is still giving him issues. So
yeah, Mid-Ohio was his return, right?
Right.
To the IndyCar.
Not a lot of relief for him on that track. So.
All right, Pat Boylan, he joins us on the other side. We'll round things out with the pop quiz. Thursday morning, Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton, Elijah Roberson with you.
I don't see this happen more often, but Elijah pointed it out, and I couldn't help but notice that you were eating a banana in the break, and you took it off the peel.
It's called eating healthy.
Yeah, but you set the banana on the desk of the radio studio.
Correct.
And I can't help but think that you're always saying you have allergies and you're sick. You're probably inhaling all the dust that's in the studio on your banana. So that might be one of the more disgusting things I've
wipe
seen.
This down after the show? I mean, he's a very sanitary-driven individual.
I would say this place hasn't been touched by a mop or a Swiffer or a wet wipe.
You're overreacting.
Since probably COVID.
You're overreacting.
I don't think I am. But let's transition and see what he thinks. He's the voice of the Indiana Fever, and he joins us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Pat Boylan, thank you for joining us. Have you ever eaten anything off of a desk in this studio?
Let me calm some of your anxieties because I'm in that studio all the time, and I'm a bit of a germaphobe, and I wipe that area down every single game I go in. So at least the computer, when you walk in, the first mic to the left, that computer
that's where he's at
during the Pacers season gets wiped down at least 3 times a week.
See, but he hasn't been here since May, though. That's the only problem.
And you said since COVID, so it's been wiped down in the last month and a half.
Okay, you still ate a banana off of that.
We sat near Pat Boylan, by the way, yesterday with our radio show live from Cambridge Fieldhouse. Pat, are you like club level view, or do you want to be on the floor? Because I kind of liked the view I had yesterday. Obviously, I wasn't watching a basketball game, but like when people warmed up, I'm like, I kind of like a little bit of a higher angle.
Yeah, there are pros and cons to both. You do miss something just being down there, being so close to the action versus being up a little bit. And for those who don't know, our spot where we are calling games moved up to the club level, but for very good reason, because there is such demand for the product on the floor that we were able to sell those seats. And the moment that I heard that, I said, absolutely, move us up. That spot up is a very, very good spot. It's the radio spot during the NBA season. And you do up there, it allows you to anticipate a little bit better. You can see plays developing. You can see what's happening just a little bit quicker. So there are pros and cons to both, but in this scenario, with it being a situation where we have such demand, on the Fever basketball product right now, you can sign me up for this every day.
He is Pat Boylan, of course, TV voice of the Fever. Him and Debbie Antonelli on the call yesterday. Pat, I thought arguably the worst quarter of the season to get things started. To me, the 8 turnovers, just the defensive lapses, it created such a mountain to climb. And I get it. In the NBA and the WNBA, you see teams climb out of holes, but just put so much pressure on you the rest of the way to be, close to perfect. And obviously the fourth quarter, they made a spirited run, but just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, and what's interesting about some of that, too, is turnovers haven't really been a significant problem for this team. They were at the very beginning of the season, but the Fever have been about mid-pack since then in turnovers. So this hasn't been an issue or a regular issue. So that was pretty surprising to me. And look, sometimes I think you just have off days. But at the same time, when you dig yourself into a hole, as you say, like you did, you just have to play almost perfect the rest of the way. I thought yesterday's game was a great example of just how important Aaliyah Boston is to this team. And of course, so much attention on Caitlin Clark, and she's so vital to the success on this team, and all of the attention is deservedly so. But I think at times people forget just how impactful Aaliyah Boston is. She was the biggest reason this team went from 5 to 13 wins last year, and there's no coincidence over her last 8 going into yesterday. She was averaging 18 and 10 on about 60% shooting. I mean, those are all-star starter caliber numbers. And she got into early foul trouble and never really got out of that foul trouble, couldn't play significant minutes. And the Fever really missed having her presence down there. And when you look at what they had done recently, the 6-3 stretch over their last 9 or the 7-5 stretch over their last 12, Clark was brilliant during that stretch, but so too was Boston. And they really missed her presence yesterday. The fourth quarter was brilliant. It was as good of a quarter as I think they played in a long time. But when you have the first 3 quarters, you put yourself into that kind of position. You have to play perfect in the fourth, and to the Fever's credit, they nearly did. I mean, they were nearly perfect in that fourth quarter, but just couldn't quite get out of the hole that they dug themselves into.
Pat Boylan joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. You mentioned it, Pat. Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell have been the pillars of the starting 5. The other 2 starting spots, though, there's been a lot of rotation there. What do you think the Fever are actually looking for in those final 2 spots that they haven't seen consistently all season long.
Yeah, I think in general it's just for somebody to step up and show that regular starting spot. I would say Nalissa Smith, she didn't start yesterday, but she started in 20 of the 23. I don't want to speak for Christy Sides on what she plans going forward, but I do think it's more likely than not that Smith is a part of that group. She's had a good season too. That final spot's been really interesting. They have a few players that could fill it. Katie Lou Samuelson is the best shooter of the group. Christy Wallace is maybe the best defender. And then Lexi Hull is kind of a 3-and-D type of player who's really come on, I think, lately as well. And if there's anything to watch in terms of the rotation of the starting lineup, perhaps the most interesting storyline is just that. Who fills that fifth starting role minute type of role? Is it a matchup-based thing? Do you go into it saying, okay, against X team we maybe need a little bit more three-point shooting, so there's Katie Lou Samuelson. Against Y team we maybe need some defense, so it's Christy Wallace or Lexi Hull. But I do think, trying to figure out who gets that final spot and who's deserving of it is kind of an interesting storyline to watch here the rest of the way. And I would guess that, Christy's kind of viewing it as, well, somebody step in and show me that you're deserving of it. But I think all three of those players probably get minutes and are probably regularly in the rotation either way. But I do think that's something interesting to watch here. We're already past the midway point of the season. I think that's something that catches people by surprise sometimes. In a 40-game season, you hit the 20-game mark pretty quickly if you're used to watching NBA basketball. So we're 23 through of the 40-game season. We're going to hit this big Olympic break here coming up soon, and then that's going to make it feel like the season actually lasts kind of long. But this season is more than halfway over, and the good news for the Fever right now is they are in a playoff spot, and they're in a very good position to be in the playoffs once the season comes to a conclusion.
He is Pat Boylan, Carmel legend. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline, obviously TV voice of the Fever, and you hear him alongside Mark Boyle and company during Pacers radio action during their seasons. Pat, I'm an admitted loser. I've said this to Doug Bowles before when we've had him on. I'd be fascinated if, somehow IMS could provide, where each person's from that attends the Indy 500, if they provided that information publicly. I sat there inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse yesterday and thought, how many people in this arena are from Iowa right now? And I guess I bring up to you, do you have any idea what your TV ratings in and around the Iowa state look like?
Specific to Iowa, I don't. One of the cool aspects of this partnership that we have, and I'm not sure if everyone's aware of this, is we are, of course, partnered locally here with WTHR. So any broadcast that we can do, which actually we've lost a whole lot of them to ESPN and CBS and ABC. Good for the Fever to be on national TV, certainly, but we have a lot less games locally than we're used to doing. But the games locally are on WTHR, but they've created a network through the owner of THR, and they own a cluster of stations around the Midwest, which includes Des Moines, Iowa, and a couple stations, I believe, in Iowa. The specific ratings to there, I don't know. I do know in general, I don't know our exact numbers. In general, when we are on WTHR, the TV rating is very, very good. There's a lot of interest in this product. And the one thing that we don't know that maybe the league could provide or answer is just the league pass numbers. And that's how, if you're in Des Moines, you can get our WTHR network broadcast there on one of their local stations. But realistically, the best way if you're in Iowa to regularly watch the Fever is, of course, their nationally televised games, but then getting our broadcast on League Pass. And those numbers to me would be really interesting to see. What percentage of people watching on League Pass are from Iowa? But as you said, you go into the building, and it would be interesting, too, to know there's a few sets of fans in the building. You have the Fever diehards that have been there forever, that have supported this team for a very long time, and we're very grateful for. You have the people in the community in Indianapolis that have become bigger or become fans this year because of Caitlin Clark and all of the excitement that surrounds her. And then you've got her Iowa community that is supporting her beyond her college career. And then of that section, what portion are actually making the trek, the 6 to 8 hours, I think it is, from Iowa to get here? What portion might be Iowa grads that have since moved on closer to Indianapolis. But the demographics, I'm a little bit of a nerd there too. The demographics on that would be fascinating to see. Unfortunately, I can't give you anything specifically other than just that, as you would expect, the numbers on anything we do right now are through the roof and just show the general level of excitement, both here in the city. I mean, you walk around, Kevin, you walk around, I mean, there's Caitlin Clark jerseys everywhere.
Everywhere.
Almost like you would see, going into a Pacers game or going into a Colts game. Like there is a very similar comp there between the other professional franchises here in this city.
Pat, you were there when we did our interview with her earlier this week. And again, just a simple picture of me and Andy and Caitlin. And I just tweeted that out, just like, hey, we'll have our interview with her airing tomorrow. Pat, that is done as good analytically from a Twitter standpoint for me as any Colt tweet I think I've ever had. And it's a picture where you can barely even see her face. Like, it's just and it's not like my following is Iowa or heavily Fever basketball centric. It's just it's absurd.
No question. And I've had the same experience. We had the Pacers in just an unbelievable playoff run going to the Eastern Conference Finals, and yet in a lot of ways it felt like anything that I would tweet that would be about Caitlin Clark would get more interaction, more engagement. Kelsey Mitchell had a great line a couple of days ago. If anyone was watching the game on Saturday against the Liberty, she hit the game-tying three with a couple minutes to go, was on an assist from Clark, and I asked her about it. I said, look, you've hit some big shots, but that was probably your first big shot, talking Mitchell here, in front of this type of crowd, in front of 17,000 at home. What was it like? And she kind of immediately blurts out, I felt like a Hawkeye. And I just thought that was such a good line. We had it if the situation was gonna come into play in our broadcast. We had it to use it. Unfortunately, it didn't come into play. I just tweeted that little nugget, and I'm almost positive it's the most interacted with tweet I've ever had, covering anything Pacers, anything Fever over the years. It's spectacular. But, locally, she's captured, I think, the attention of everybody here. But just seeing that national spotlight, and I think ESPN had a metric out that she was the fourth most popular U.S. athlete right now. I mean, it feels that way. It feels like she's the fourth most popular athlete in the U.S., and Twitter is probably the best example of that, because you get all of the Iowa community, you get all the national attention that she has garnered, and it's spectacular, man. I mean, we're a few months into this, and I still kind of find myself picking my jaw up off the floor from time to time.
Pat Boylan joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. We appreciate the time. Real quick, Pat, your Pacers thoughts. They brought back Siakam and Toppin, lost Jalen Smith, added James Wiseman. They have 3 draft picks. Your big picture Pacers off-season thoughts are what?
Yeah, I think they checked just about every box that was a necessary check, and obviously that starts with bringing back Pascal Siakam and getting him back and a part of this core, and making sure that trade that you made was one that was going to set you up for future years. I think you go back to that trade back in February for Siakam, or maybe it was late January, and you say, okay, if you end up signing him long-term, that's a steal. If you end up not getting him re-signed, then you gave away a fair amount of decent assets for just a portion of the season. So I think it allows you to go back and look at that trade and go, yeah, you really got a steal, an all-star caliber player for not all-star caliber return. So that's, where you start. But I think where this team is right now, they're in such a good position because they just made this terrific run. Now, the rest of the Eastern Conference, numerous teams got better, but the Pacers are in a spot right now. Tyrese Halliburton is still young, and Andrew Nembhard is still young, and Mathurin didn't play during that stretch. I mean, really, most of their core is still on the upswing. If you're Turner and Siakam, you probably are right in the heart of your prime, but the rest of those guys are on their upswing. So there's no reason to me that you wouldn't view this and say, well, you got everybody you needed to back, and your young players should get better. And you're in a spot, I think, if you're the front office, where you can be patient and look for the exact right type of move. And when you look at what the front office has done over the years, especially the past couple of years where they've seemingly done everything right, it's been without pressuring themselves into a move. I mean, there was a lot reported going back to the Halliburton deal about maybe Sacramento wanting to put other players in there. I don't know if any of that's true, but the Pacers were patient and they got Halliburton. and they were patient with Siakam. We saw Indiana in those rumors for a long time too, and then they eventually got it done on their terms. And so when the Pacers have made moves on their terms, especially the last couple of years, they've been in a really good spot. And the window they're in now that you've got Siakam and Halliburton locked up long term, you've done that in back-to-back off seasons, I think allows you to continue to try to improve this team on your own terms. That could be as simple as, look, we saw Andrew Nembhard really take a huge step forward, and you've got Benedict Mathurin back, and we really haven't seen Jarris Walker in regular NBA rotational minutes, and those young guys, as much as anything, hopefully continue to push your ceiling forward.
First summer league game tomorrow for the Pacers out in Vegas. Also tomorrow, 7:30 tip, Fever and Mercury, and he is the TV voice of the Fever. He is Pat Boylan. Pat, great seeing you the other day, man. Thanks for hopping on with us, and enjoy a little quiet time coming up here during the Olympic break.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Take care.
Pat Boylan right there, Payless Liquors Hotline, pop quiz, 317-239-1070. Looks somewhat doable. Give us a ring.
It's time for the Pop Quiz with KB and Andy. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
Well, I said the Pop Quiz is doable. I regret it. Now taking a second look at it. Mark Dykton, we've got to be somewhat quick here. Looks like as well. Give us number 1 through 8.
Well, let's go with fast fingers then.
Elijah, who we got?
We got Frank here on the line for the Pop Quiz.
Hey, Frank.
Good morning.
Frank, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm fine.
Frank, we need a good effort. Mark will lead you off here.
Okay. All right, Frank. The Fever lost to Washington yesterday at the Fieldhouse. Who is the game's leading scorer? Caitlin Clark, Julie Van Loo, Kelsey Mitchell, or Ariel Atkins?
That'd be Caitlin Clark.
Boom.
Frank, Angel Reese, 14th consecutive double-double. That looked a little finicky late in the game, I must say. As the Sky beat Atlanta yesterday, that is extending her WNBA record. Who held the old record of 12 straight WNBA games with a double-double? Is it Sylvia Fowles, Candace Parker, Alyssa Thomas, Cheryl Swoops?
Boy. Let's go with Swoops.
Alyssa Thomas has got the record for most triple-doubles in a season.
All right, Frank, on the NBA side, who holds the record for most consecutive double-doubles? And this ain't even close. Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, Domantas Sabonis, or Wilt Chamberlain?
Yes. Let's go with...
He's got high numbers in a lot of categories, I would say.
Easy now.
Wilt.
There you go.
Mark's AIM name from a few years back.
Easy.
The field is set for Monday night's home run derby in Arlington, Texas. Pete Alonso, lifting weights, is also the only two-time winner in the field. Name the player with the most All-Star Game home run wins with 3. Is it Giannis Cespedes, Prince Fielder, Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds?
Fielder.
Good pace car driver, right? Too?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good one.
Who'd you say, Frank?
Fielder.
All right, Frank. The 2 leaders in home runs this season, Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, are not participating in the home run derby. Which of the 8 participants in this year's home run derby has hit the most home runs so far this season? Marcell Ozuna, Gunnar Henderson, Adolis Garcia, or Jose Ramirez?
Could you repeat those?
Marcell Ozuna, Gunnar Henderson, Adolis Garcia, or Jose Ramirez?
Let's go B.
Gunnar Henderson? Okay.
Yes.
Sure. I know Gunnar gone. Gunnar Henderson works there. Okay. All right. What? First, all the odd ones, is that right?
Yeah, all my questions he got right.
Mark had the right tone with Frank. Caitlin Clark, leading scorer. Wilt Chamberlain, most consecutive double-doubles. And Gunnar Henderson.
Wilt Chamberlain, 227 consecutive double-doubles. That's wild.
Candace Parker for number 2, and then Ken Griffey. I thought the pace car would maybe work out there.
Yeah.
Maybe. Mark, share that. Thank you, Frank, by the way.
Yes, thank you for calling in.
Mark, share that little news ticker item related to Indy and hosting events.
Yeah, so this came across just a little bit ago. It says some cool news for the NCAA Basketball Committee. 2026 Final Four in Indy also will include D2 and D3 title games as well as semis and finals of the NIT. So Indy is going to be a basketball heaven.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, locations still to be announced. There are. Am I seeing this correctly? Gamebridge Fieldhouse for the D2 and D3 men's finals.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Hinkle NIT action. Wow, boy, 2026 is gonna be wild. Thank you to Christian Watford. Thank you to obviously Caitlin Clark, Pat Boylan as well. Everybody have a great Thursday.